These guards are so lightweight, you forget they're even there, but they still give solid protection. It's like full freedom to play a game without that clunky feeling. I used to wear bulky guards that slip down every game. These stay in place the whole time.
These shin pads are stretchy, durable, definitely not be ripping anytime soon.
Switch the goat sleeves now. They don't slip, they don't slide. Nice and snug, nice and tight.
It's crazy how light these things are. I've worn a lot of old school pads in my time, and these are featherweight and super comfortable.
Legend begins where heroes end. Why are you still wearing those old clunky shin pads when you could be wearing these?
I used to struggle with shin guards sliding all game. These are a game changer. Put them on, you don't even notice them. They're comfortable, keep it going until finish.
It shows how fast you move on the pitch because it's stuck to the shin bone and does not slip and slide all around the shin.
No distractions, no readjusting, just focus on the match. What I like about these is you can wear them all day.
So I needed to get 85% successful.
And you achieved that within a couple of games. You actually got up to 85% with scanning.
I achieved it 3 times in my first 7 games.
That's amazing. So just again, for all of our listeners listening in, one of the things when I worked in the Premier League was that we set an objective of 80% or above to achieve for our objectives. All of the players on our programme, we set you guys to 85% because we want you to be better than the kids in Europe. So then if we can open up any opportunities into the UK, into Europe, or the US, or wherever it may be, we know. But one of the things we discovered in the Premier League was that when you're focusing on that one area, you're not worrying about defending or recovering or long passes or striking the ball. You're just focused on winning. To you looks like winning is about scanning and about getting more successful passes or getting more long passes, depending on what your objective is. So did you find once you started to hone in just on that one objective and focus, did you find your game just seemed to just flow?
Yeah, my attacking game has gotten a lot better. And it's just, even from before being on this program to now, it's before I was just maybe scanning. I was scanning, but not really that much.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, even when I watch myself happen, like I tell myself, like after the games, like, oh, it doesn't really feel like I've scanned that much.
Yeah.
And then I go and watch myself back and I've scanned a lot.
Yeah.
It just happens a lot more natural now.
Because you're doing it a lot and you're seeing a success from it, you obviously want to keep doing it, don't you? Because it's like, it's actually helping you get better.
Yeah.
So just from that one fix, I mean, we spoke about this on a previous podcast. I had a player who was playing for Liverpool, and that player was brought to me because they were getting released by Liverpool at the age of 16, and I got asked, could I help them because they were considering giving up football. I actually offered this player a full scholarship to come on the programme. Within a week of being on the programme, I spotted straight away on the match analysis, because I'd done it myself, what the one problem was, and it was scanning. And it amazed me that someone had been at somewhere like Liverpool for 6-7 years, and they were good at scanning, but again, they weren't consistent enough because they weren't even going into that much detail like we do on the pro player. So it must give you confidence knowing that you've only been on the programme for 8 weeks. You know, you're off to nationals with Football Queensland. We'll talk about it in a bit. You've got trials coming up to the UK and Europe in January. But you've done such a vast improvement in your game already just from that one objective.
Yep.
So once you've done one objective, we then move on to objective number 2. What objective are you currently working on at the moment?
I'm currently working on short passing and distribution.
So short passing and distribution. So when we talk about short passing, again, in the game, you receive the ball, you make a pass to a teammate, that's a big tick. If you try and attempt to pass to a teammate and it's short and it doesn't get there, that goes down as a cross.
Yep.
So at the end, if you get 5 successful, 5 unsuccessful, you're at 50%, yeah?
Yep.
And then you've got to try and get to 85%. So again, for anyone who's not familiar with our programme and the listeners, you need to get 3 games in a row where you're striking 85% or above. That shows that you're competent, and then you can move on to your next objective. So just for our listeners, Jackson, where are you up to with short distribution and passing?
So I finished my scanning just before the holidays, so I haven't played any matches under this objective yet.
So you've got to start working on this one.
Yep.
And hopefully that might be something that you could work on maybe while you're in Sydney on Nationals next week. Fantastic. Now, we did touch on it a little bit, and we'll move on to one of the other pillars of the programme, and that is the GPS tracker and how important the GPS tracker is. So can you explain to everyone who doesn't know what a GPS tracker is? Because it amazed me, because I always forget that, because I've been so fortunate to work in the elite game, and I just assume everyone knows what a GPS tracker is. But when I go and run our events, it's quite evident to me that people actually don't even know what a GPS tracker is. So can you explain it to any boys and girls out there who don't know what one is?
So pretty much it's just like a sports bra that we put on, and then it's got a GPS on the back of it, and it like tracks the calories burned, it where I've run on the field, it tracks the distance I've run, the like what intensity I was running at, how many sprints I've made.
What's the benefit to you, Jackson? Because I know what the benefits are from my background, 'cause I've worked with them for 20 years. But when you were coming into the program and you put the tracker on, what's like one of the things that you thought, wow, this is actually going to really help me, or it has helped me?
When I put it on, I want to train. I want to be out on the field with the ball.
Yeah.
Like every time I put it on, I want the ball at my feet. I want to be on the pitch. It helps a lot with getting my hours up.
We spoke about it in the drive over in the car, and I said it was funny that we've had players in the past have said like they feel like it's having a coach on your back, because they're there in your ear telling you, and it's like you're conscious that tracker's there, and if you don't put in, you know, because it's going to show up in your results. So have you had any results where you've got your tracker off at the end of the session, you've seen your results and been a bit disappointed?
Yeah, like sometimes I think like I've worked hard and then it just says like it was like low intensity or...
Yeah. So that's a great one that, again, no matter where you are, whether you're in Yeppoon or Brisbane or London, wherever you are in the world, coaches, it's hard. I know from my background, we don't always have the time and effort to make sure we know every single player is put in. But with that GPS tracker, there's no hiding from it. So the good thing for you is when you think you've had a hard session, you're coming off sweating, but then you put that result on, you actually see it's being low intensity. It actually makes you realise, doesn't it, that, oh, wow, I actually need to up it a little bit in the next session, especially if it is meant to be a high-intensity session. So with the GPS tracker, for everyone listening in as well, we record accelerations and runs and decelerations as well, how many sprints players do on the pitch, but also distance covered. We also get all of the players to wear it for recoveries, recovery walks, runs. Have you been using it outside of football yet for anything?
I use it every time I take my dog to the park, because usually when I walk my dog around, I run, so I always put it on.
Yeah.
Even if I'm just going outside for 10 minutes to juggle a ball, I put it on.
Yeah.
Take it to PE at school as well.
Yeah, that's good. And that's one of the things that we say to the players, if you can wear it as much as possible, even when you're out for a walk, when you're out doing high-end activity, it's a good way of us recording and getting a real holistic view of what you're doing day to day. And the big part that people underestimate is that recovery part. To actually see that you've recorded 7 low-intensity 15-minute sessions this week. What are they? Oh, they're actually when I'm walking the dog. Great. Well, they actually act as recovery walks or recovery runs for you, keeping your heart rate and your threshold low. It's going to help you recover a lot quicker, ready for the next day. So that's a little bit about GPS trackers. We're just going to go to our first break, but we're going to be back, and when we come back, we're going to talk intolerance test and food. So big thank you for listening in, guys, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Would you one day like to be a professional football player? Would you like to be part of our pro player pathway? What is the pro player pathway? It's an opportunity for all Australian football players aged between 10 and 23 who want to join us to become the next professional football player. On the pro player pathway, you get to join me and my team free of charge to an event all around Australia. When you join me, we're going to teach you the secrets of football in Europe. And one day, maybe, you could be gracing the Champions League final. Guys, over the next 12 months, we're going to be coming around all the major cities of Australia. And when we come around all the major cities, we're going to be running our free events everywhere we go. So guys, what have you got to lose? Nothing. It's a free event. It's for boys and girls aged 10 to 23. And I'm going to teach you the secrets of becoming a top European football player. Oh, and one final thing. We're going to be giving away 20 scholarships to join me on this programme of a lifetime.
He's off to Sydney on Monday now. We were just talking a little bit about Jackson coming on the programme. We were talking about the first steps of the professional player pathway and getting your match analysis done and getting your objectives and getting you on the portal and the app and getting you to record your stats. Now, one of the other pillars, and we were having a good chat about this on the way in the car, is your intolerance and DNA test. So can you again maybe explain to all the mums and dads and boys and girls out there what this test actually is and what it tests for?
So pretty much this is like a DNA test. So like I cut a piece of my hair off, we sent it down to you, and then we got back just an email of all the foods that I wasn't allowed to eat.
Amazing. So I'll just build on that for everyone who's listening. So we get a sample of a player's hair, we send it off to a laboratory, they actually test it, and it's an individual test. So it's not even like a family DNA test, it's actually an individual test. So we test it for all the intolerances, whether it be foods, drinks, products, home products, anything that, you know, even things like down to like blankets and pillows, anything like that. There's a test for everything. So when you first seen this, and I showed you it on the presentation, and we explained to you that getting this done can not only help you keep inflammation down, it can help you speed up recoveries. And we always talk about those 1%ers. If we can get those 1%ers into your game and into your day, it gives you a better chance of making it. Let's talk about your results. What was some of the things on there that you now can't eat and you can't drink? So when you get your list back, you get a list, everything in black is right.
Yeah.
Is like what you can eat and drink. And then you get a list of stuff in red that they advise you not to eat anymore.
Yeah.
So talk to us, what was some of the things in red?
So some of the things in red for me was like stuff that I have every day, like tomato sauce.
Tomato sauce, so you can't have tomato
Can't have
sauce
tomatoes.
anymore.
I have that on like a lot of my foods.
Okay.
I can't have white bread,
White bread.
so that's out. Most breads
Yeah.
as well. I can have wraps though, like plain wraps, but not plain bread.
Yeah.
I can't have table salt
Okay.
or lettuce or
Lettuce.
chicken as well.
Yeah.
Chicken's a big one.
Chickens, I was saying to you before off the camera, like 70 to 80% of people flag up with chicken. And a lot of people don't make sense with it. And just for people to understand, what we do is we remove chicken out of your diet for 6 months, but then we allow you to re-educate your body back with chicken again. But this is 9 times out of 10 what we've found. Unfortunately, a lot of chickens now are pumped, wrongly or rightly so, but are pumped with like salts and waters to make them bigger. They get all sorts of like different grains and not great food put through them. Now, what we've seen in the past is people who've come up with chicken, the good news for you is that people have had chicken come up on the results that they can't eat it no more. They remove chicken out of the diet. They add chicken back in, but they add in like organic chicken and then get retested. And it's actually, we've discovered that actually is fine. So a lot of the time, it's unfortunately a lot of the foods that we're producing now, because we're producing it in the masses, it's getting pumped full of stuff that's not really good for you. They're getting fed grains and stuff that's not really good for your body. And what we're discovering is 90% of the time. So are you pleased to hear that maybe one day you can eat chicken again?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said lettuce as well, which is a really interesting one.
Yeah.
And again, unfortunately, I guarantee if you remove lettuce for 6 months, but then you re-add it in, but again, if you go for organic lettuce, that's not getting sprayed and pumped with chemicals and that, what you'll actually find is that the chances are it's probably because of what gets sprayed on our foods, unfortunately, nowadays. Was there anything else on there that you can't eat or drink, or?
I couldn't have any like dairy products, like most of them, like all the milks and stuff.
Yeah.
But-
That's a common one. I actually done the test myself, and I'm the same. I got all of the dairy, cheeses, milks, like I can't eat any of it. And I must admit, since I've stopped eating it, I've noticed a huge difference in like my skin, my hair, like just feeling better day to day.
And one of the like ones that it's in like a lot of things, I think it was aluminium,
Aluminium.
which I think that's in a lot of the stuff that I use.
Yeah. And it's also things like there's a lot of like metals and toxins found in fish as well, which is another one that you can.
Wasn't allowed whitefish, but I'm allowed salmon.
There you go. There you go. So that was really interesting. So since you've got your results, the question I've got to ask you is, have you been following it pretty much?
I've as best I could do. The
Yeah.
tomato sauce I'm trying, but everything else it's been pretty easy to lay off.
It might be as well worth checking back when we get you tested again, but also they have salt reduced tomato sauce or no salt tomato sauce. I don't know if it tastes the same or not, but it was interesting that you got white salt on there or table salt, and that's what they put in tomato sauce as well. So it could be that it's the salt as well. That's connecting. But that was really, really interesting. Now, we're nearly done and we're nearly finished with this podcast, but one of the final things we want to do is wish you luck for your upcoming training with Queensland, Football Queensland, and everything that you've got going on at Nationals. But one of the other pillars which we haven't really spoken about yet is once you get through your 5 objectives, or you're getting close to your 5 objectives, we then open up opportunities for you to go on trials and go and train in the likes of Europe and the UK with some of our partnered academies and clubs. Now, obviously, that's something that's really of interest to you. That's something you'd like to do in the future.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Now, we've obviously got some stuff going on in January, and we forecast forward how quick you're moving through your objectives and where we think you're going to be in Jan. Now, we obviously made you an opportunity to go with us in January, to come with us on trials, and you're going to be coming to the UK with us, I believe. So is that something that you're really looking forward to as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've come from playing community-based football in Yeppoon in central Queensland to now all of a sudden, you know, you're kicking goals representing state for Football Queensland. Hopefully we can get a Joey's call up. And then obviously we've got the exciting trials into the UK and Europe in January. So you must feel in 2024, your football's gone from there to there, all in a case of 2 or 3 months since you've been on the programme.
Yeah.
So final question I've got to ask you before we finish. Would you recommend this to other boys and girls out there? And if so, what's the one key thing to you that you think's why people should do it and why they should sign up?
I would most certainly recommend this to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big things that it helps you is just improve your game immensely. Like, it's just going to make everyone a better player.
So it just gives you a little bit more awareness, you feel, of what you should be working on and how hard you should be working.
Yeah.
And then once you're aware of that and you're able to monitor that, because the big thing I think with all of this, it's data, isn't it? It's all the data that you get from it, and you can actually see it's objective. It's not subjective. It's not like your coach is saying, I actually think you had a really good session there tonight, but then when you put your tracker on, you go, actually, coach, I didn't, because I actually didn't work hard enough. That's really interesting to see, because what one person thinks is actually not really what's really happened. So you know day by day when you're putting that tracker on, you know if you're working hard enough or not. And then it's measured against your objectives in the portal. So you must be super excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, a big thank you, mate, for coming on. And I'm really happy you were able to share your story. Now, what we're going to do is hopefully in the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to get you back on again, because I'm pretty confident we're going to have some major success stories with you. You're going to join us again in 12 or 18 months?
Certainly.
Thanks, Jackson. That's me, guys, over and out from the Raymond Wood podcast. And we look forward to speaking to you on our next podcast in the next couple of weeks. Hi everyone, it's Raymond Wood from the Raymond Wood podcast. Now this is episode number 4 and I am so excited to introduce this guest. This is a guest by the name of Chelsea Jean. Hello Chelsea, how are you?
Hi Ray, thank you for bringing me on today. I'm excited to chat more.
No worries. And just to explain where me and Chelsea met, we met a couple of months ago, a group called the Iconic Group. And I travelled all the way down to Sydney. I actually had no need to be down in that room, but I just felt like I needed to go down. And it was a very special group of entrepreneurs. And I met with Chelsea. And the funny thing was that both myself and Chelsea are actually from Brisbane. And I discovered some of the amazing work that Chelsea does. And we've since added in part of Chelsea's business into our Pro Player Pathway. So Chelsea, I'll probably get you in the next 60 seconds just to give us a little bit of an intro about you and your business and what you do.
Yeah, so Ray, I am a naturopath who specialises in lymphatic health. And I know that L word, lymphatic, can be a word that not many people understand. But we have 15 litres of lymph in our body that we really don't utilise to its best potential. It's what keeps our fluid moving around our body. It transports our hormones around our body. It's where our immune system lives. So as a naturopath, I believe that our body can do lots of things to heal itself and to keep itself healthy. And let's utilize this lymphatic system that we have to do it. So I've been a body worker for, I started when I was 19. So do the sums, I'm 47 now, and just love working on bodies and helping people feel so much better, more energy in their day. They're being able to think clearer, being able to get the best out of life without the added unnecessary bad things that can happen.
Brilliant. So, in regards to the lymphatic area, we're going to start with that. And for those guys who are watching us on YouTube, we've got one of these gloves. Can you tell us what the name of this glove is?
This is my lymphatic glove. We have a spiky side. If you feel this side here,
Yeah.
nice and spiky on one side. So that is to help the the nerves on the outside of our skin. The other side is this magnetic ball side. And that is what we can use for over top of your clothes and before and after sport on getting the lymphatic system moving to reduce lactic acid.
Awesome. So not just for like any mums and dads, this actually could benefit elite athletes and players who are aspiring to be elite athletes.
Definitely. Yeah, our lymphatic system can be blocked from women wearing bras, tight underwear, from any surgery, even just not from breathing deep enough. We're not pumping this fluid through our body. And, our blood is only 5 litres and it has your heart and it has your lungs. Our lymphatic system doesn't have that. It doesn't have a pump. It relies on us to move and to groove and to keep our body working. And any type of injury, any type of sprain, any type of surgery is going to stop this lymph from travelling as it needs to do through the body. Just like you brush your teeth every day, we're going to brush your body and learn how to do that with this easy sequence.
Now, I have tried this and it was quite interesting, but just for our listeners, so in regards to the spiky side, we utilise that part first, and how long are we having to do that for?
Yeah, so before you have a shower, when you're naked, you're going to start with the spiky side and you're going to brush your body. Now, this is the thing. Most people think that you have to start at your toes or start at your wrists. It's not right. You have to start at your chest. If you're starting at your feet or your hands, you're treating your body like it's a tube of toothpaste, squeezing from the outside without unblocking the chest. So what does Tarzan do before he goes and saves Jane?
His chest.
He beats his chest. What do the guys do, the Maori boys, when the Pacific Islanders?
Yeah.
They do the haka, like before they go and play sport. So that's opening up these lymphatic channels, allowing the lymphatic system to run free throughout the body, and so it will not slow you down as fast. That lactic acid won't be able to build up as fast.
Okay, so that's probably why the Kiwis are so good at rugby union.
Yeah. So we start with the spiky side.
Yeah.
Now we always start at the chest.
Yeah.
And we brush towards our heart first. So always brushing towards your heart.
Yeah.
Now, the lymphatic system can feel heavy throughout your chest. You might feel like clay glue. It might feel like a rocky road and ridges throughout the area. Unfortunately, women tend to think that they then need to have biopsies and different things done, where it could just be a lack of iodine, or it could just be a lumpy lymphatic system. So just by massaging your body and doing some self-care is a great way to move this fluid that gets stuck. So we start in the chest and we brush towards your heart, and then your shoulder towards your chest, and then your elbow and up, and then your arms and up. It's a really simple program to follow once you get it. And when we get to our belly, we go clockwise.
Yeah.
Now, anybody who has got any diarrhea or constipation or things like that, we have to massage with the direction of your bowels, so around clockwise. And then in the hips, you start massaging through the hips and then working your way. So the feet is actually the last place we do, and that's not really well known throughout the world when it comes to dry skin brushing. We have to follow the correct sequence.
So talking about for our players and our athletes, we've got a lot of boys and girls in our programs. Is there any age restrictions with this? Is this like something that children should or shouldn't be doing, or?
We have a lot of mums who have babies with constipation issues, and they use the gloves on the baby's belly and start moving that through. So no, there is no age at all. Like, I can remember being young and running around the toilet, like running around the table bent over, like needing to go to the toilet and having lots of constipation type issues. So if we're not getting rid of that waste, think of your body like a aquarium.
Yeah.
So in this fish tank, you've got all of the water, you've got the fish, you've got the plant life that all needs to live in there. If that filter isn't working properly and that water isn't getting cleaned out, the fish isn't going to be healthy. The plant's lives are going to die off quite fast. So your lymphatic system is that fluid in that aquarium. So everybody has lots of lymph, and depending on your how much water you drink, depending on what food you put in, depending like the air that you breathe or the toxins that are in our environment these days, a lot of kids are being born with 300 different heavy metals and toxins in their body these days. They're under the pump. Children these days are already getting born disadvantaged with a toxic load in their lymphatic system. So the more that we can encourage it and keep it moving and detoxing, the better the fish and the plant life and all of our organs can replenish and do the job that it needs to do.
So drawing it back into football to soccer with
Yes.
our players, would this be something that would be useful like a pre-game or more of a post-game or both?
Absolutely both.
Both.
Yes. So before you play, that's why we use the spiky side. And my son, like he plays basketball. He was playing 6 games of basketball a week. We use the ball side and we follow the same sequence. And we start at the chest and we're always brushing up. You're always brushing up. So just by doing this 2-minute sequence before sport, and even when I go to gym and a lot of my athletes, I've got a lot of PTs, they do this. They will tell me that their output, they can lift heavier and they can run faster and their times are getting so much better. So if you're clearing your system first, then when you're exercising and you're moving, all of that flow is already happening. There's nothing there blocking it from flowing through.
Yeah.
Now, if you hurt yourself, like being a soccer player, like knees, is it knees that can be?
Knees and ACLs are the big one.
Yeah. So if you fall over, if you hurt yourself, if you hurt your knee, one of the old things to do would be to ice it. Okay. Now we've done lots of studies in this, and the studies now, all of the new studies, is the last thing you want to do is apply ice to the area, because the lymphatic system has to go in and find out what's going on, what's wrong. It has to pick up any damaged tissue in there, blood vessels, what has to be removed. So it has to pick that up and remove it. It then has to bring so the signals, the body gets told, those T cells, those B cells, your immune system gets told what to then descend to the area and how to fix it fast. If we're icing that area, it slows the process down a lot. Please ice if it's broken and if it's in pain, but other than that, let's raise it and let's compress it.
Yeah.
And allow the lymphatic system to do its work, and you will heal so much faster.
So pretty much trust in your body and let it do what it's meant to do.
Exactly.
And recover. So in regards to our players, I mean, is this something that we can quite easily access? I mean, what's the cost involved in one of these?
Yeah, so you get 2 gloves because, as we know, 2 is always better than 1.
Yeah.
You get 2 gloves in a kit, and it takes 30 seconds to a minute to rub your body like you do a warm-up. It's a really great, easy sequence to add into your warm-up beforehand. And then afterwards, it's just rolling over. So $42.50 Aussie is the pair of gloves. And I've also made a magnesium spray. Now, this magnesium spray is powered with MSM and lots of other botanicals, because I am a naturopath as well. So it's got frankincense, peppermint, arnica. It will not sting. I promise it won't sting. You won't get any itchiness, but it will reduce pain, and the MSM heals at a cellular level. So you can rub the magnesium spray on. And
This is the bottle that we've got
this
here.
one
Can I
here,
have a look?
yes. You can rub the magnesium on, and then you can roll over. Now, the balls aren't just for pushing the lymph through. It feels amazing on any tight areas of your body. So you can just press and hold. You can trigger point as well, the magnetic balls. I could sit on them as well. They're really nice. So if you're driving, to sit on them. But it's something that's going to fit in your gym bag.
Yeah.
Easy to do. There's no excuses really. So if just doing a 1 minute before and 1 minute after is going to increase your speed and agility and your body's ability to heal and get rid of lactic acid, it's a no-brainer to me.
The big one for us in professional football at the top level, the elite level, is the lactic acid build-up. And especially now, you get a lot of high-pressure games that will go into extra time and penalties. And that was one of the big things that they've discovered, is that the lactic acid build-up kills players, and you see them on the floor they've got cramp, they've got stretches. So I mean, for the sake of $42.50, which is about £20 in English pounds, I mean, if we can be doing this before a game and they're
Yes.
doing it on a daily basis, is that right? Maybe 5 to
Yes.
10 minutes a day?
Yeah.
If that reduces lactic acid by 5%, that's going to be a game changer, because sometimes the margins in winning these big games is that going for that extra minute or two and being
Yes.
able to compete at that, because they are traveling anything up to 14 or 15 kilometers in a game. And if they can reduce that lactic acid, that's going to be huge. Guys, we're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about compression suits and also intolerance tests. And I'm going to run you through this beautiful test that I done. So, guys, we're going to be back. We'll let you watch our advert, and we'll see you in the next couple of minutes.
Would you one day like to be a professional football player? Would you like to be part of our pro player pathway? What is the pro player pathway? It's an opportunity for all Australian football players aged between 10 and 23 who want to join us to become the next professional football player. On the pro player pathway, you get to join me and my team free of charge to an event all around Australia. When you join me, we're going to teach you the secrets of football in Europe. And one day, maybe, you could be gracing the Champions League final. Guys, over the next 12 months, we're going to be coming around all the major cities in Australia. And when we come around all the major cities, we're going to be running our free events everywhere we go. So guys, what have you got to lose? Nothing. It's a free event. It's for boys and girls aged 10 to 23. And I'm going to teach you the secrets of becoming a top European football player. Oh, and one final thing. We're going to be giving away 20 scholarships to join me on this program of a lifetime.
Hi everyone, it's Raymond Wood, and we are doing our podcast number 4, and this is part 2 of this episode. We've just been speaking with Chelsea Jean on these amazing gloves and reducing things like lactic acid. Now we're going to actually talk a little bit about compression suits, because I was amazed that when I first met you, it was all about the lymphatic system, and it was all about just these amazing gloves that we've seen in the Iconic group that we're part of. And then I discovered when I come to your shop, which is over in Brisbane, which is it Capella Bar?
Capella Bar.
Yeah. And you were I seen all these compression suits hung up, and I was like freaked out. I'm like, this is amazing, because one of the gyms I go to in Brisbane is a state-of-the-art gym. They have restoration zones, ice bath, infrared saunas, and they have compression boots, but they only have like the boots for the feet and the ankles. And then I seen that you guys have got these suits that fit the whole body.
Yeah, we do.
So can you tell me a little bit about your background with compression suits and what you do with them, and how you come about to being involved with them?
Yeah, so I started using compression around 20 years ago. And I love it that people are using it for sport, but I want to help people with mobility issues. I want to help the elderly. I want to help people who are stuck in bed, maybe pre and post injury as well, and how they can get their body up and moving and best working properly. So what we do is, from a lymphatic point of view, is we will always start in the correct order by at the chest first, and massaging through the chest, and then picking a compression suit to fit a compression area to suit where somebody has a blockage in their body. Now, that can be for women if they've had a mastectomy. That can be through the chest, and we need to use the arms if they've had lymph nodes removed in the top part. If people have had any abdominal surgery, then we would concentrate on the shorts, as well as so many people get really tight in their lower back and the hips, and then we would use compression with the shorts, and then the lower leg, of course, with any calf build-up, any swelling in the legs after surgery. It just makes your legs feel so much lighter. And because our body is under so much stress, it is such a great way of working with the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is a thing when it comes to sports people, is that you tend to be go, go, go a lot. And stress does put out a lot of cortisol, and that just keeps on an inflammatory mode in your body. With the compression system, it is like swaddling a baby. It's like giving that nice womb, I am safe feeling, and everything just goes, like, I know. Did you fall asleep?
Yeah, so for the listeners who are listening in, I actually went over to Chelsea's studio and I got the compression suits on, and the first thing I felt was the pressure. And I'm like, this is going to potentially like hurt me. But then after the first minute, I stopped being a wuss. I realised it was actually doing something, and then I felt tingling in the hands and the arms. And then I think about 10 minutes later, I realised I'd fallen asleep.
Yes, yeah.
It was amazing.
It brings you down. You don't realise how up and hypo you tend to be, and then it just brings that woo back into your life. So we work with the parasympathetic nervous system, but plus we need to re-educate and help that lymph move up. And it's not just your legs. And this is what I'm passionate about sharing, is that your lymphatic system travels all throughout your body. And a lot of us get caught up in our hips and our lower back, and that lymph can get stuck. And that can be a couple of reasons. We don't belly breathe, we don't move our hips enough, and also wearing tight undies. Tight undies can also stop the flow of lymph getting past up to the heart where it needs to be.
Wow. So just for those who are watching us on our YouTube channel, we've got our lovely dummy here, who's ironically called Blue, but is actually red. I won't even ask why we're calling her Blue. But for everyone who can see on the camera, we've got these shorts. And so from a professional football player's point of view, whether it be a male or a female, is there anywhere that you would target first with the compression suit, or would you say the whole part of the body? Where would you go first?
People can be different, their composition. So there's 4 different body types that people have, which means that they can store extra fluid in different parts. So first of all, I would look at their body shape and their body type to see, okay, where do they seem to hold fluid the most? Secondly, I would look at where, if they've had any previous injuries. But people tend to know these types of things themselves and go, oh yeah, I'm tight around the hips, or I've always have this pool of swelling around my knees, or my ankles, at the end of the day, get really sore. So they can sort of choose which area. But the important thing with pneumatic compression is that we start at the bottom and we compress from the feet all the way up, or from the knees when we're using the shorts all the way up. And we're moving this lactic acid through the body nice and gently, because recovery is the big thing in sport these days, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So if we can make recovery faster, then those athletes who want to then go to the gym at midnight or like do all these other things as well, they can keep on pumping their body more, because we are removing the acid, we're removing the waste, removing the inflammation, and getting that immune system involved in healing.
We've just been back to the UK, and we had a huge football tour, and we took 116 with us. It was phenomenal. And while we were there, we went to a few games, and it just reminded me that in Europe, it's so full on with the football. So my boyhood team, Liverpool, they actually played 3 competitive games in 7 days, which is crazy. And some of those players are covering 12 to 14 kilometres. Would you say with the compression suits, again, similar to the gloves, is this something that you would expect as a daily treatment?
Yes.
But also, is this more of a benefit to do it pre and post, or both?
Yeah, so I imagine that the players will be training most days as well. So on an off day, I would just sit, and if they're watching a movie, you can sit in them for 2 hours and just pump that lymph through, on a 2-hour basis. It's something that you start when you start, and you feel the benefits and how much lighter you feel afterwards. It's something that you're not going to go, oh, I'm going to have to hop in compression. It's going to be, compression time. Yeah. It's something that your body will just crave and want to do. But yes, do it beforehand to get everything moving. If you don't have time, use the gloves. But if you've got even just 15 minutes, Ray, beforehand to jump in the compression and get everything moving and open, amazing. And then afterwards, use it as part of your warm down routine.
Amazing. And we actually, when we were back in the UK, we met with quite a few pro clubs, and we've obviously got a lot of contacts in the game. I met with an amazing guy called Mark Palios, who used to work with the English FA. He's now the owner and the head honcho at Tranmere Rovers Football Club. And I was speaking to him about your gloves, and I was speaking to him about the compression suits. And hopefully we're going to, if it's all right with you, get some sent across.
Absolutely.
And we'll let some of the pros in the UK test out some of this. And it'll be...
I think I might have to go and deliver them.
Yeah, maybe, maybe. Yeah, we go back to the UK. I think we've got 4 trips in the next 12 months coming up, so maybe if we can sneak it in a suitcase, and you can come along with us. Now, in regards to the compression suits, just to finish off, anyone who's had a serious injury and a few weeks out from there, if they've had surgery or if they've had a really bad injury they're coming back from, is the benefits around the compression suit post-injuries as well, or not?
Straight away.
Okay.
Straight away. It's a necessity. As soon as you can be in a suit, as soon as probably the stitches are out, if there is any stitches, straight in the compression. The great thing about our CJ & Co Circulate is that you can turn off certain areas and compartments as well. So if there is an area in the knee that we don't want to have too much compression on, we can just turn that one section off, but we would still push from the ankles up and then take it up from the top of the thigh as well. You want to be getting the lymphatic system working in your active recovery straight away.
Wow, that's amazing, and it sort of blew me away that we go around a lot of the pro clubs, and we did see some clubs have compression suits, but they only had the bottom part, and it was quite interesting when I spoke to some of them as well that they sometimes I think they just purchase them not really sure the benefits of them and not necessarily enforce them on the athletes, but if they want to use them they do and don't. And I think after this podcast, and if we can share this back to all of our family and friends in the football world, it'd be good for them to realise the benefits of getting access.
That's the problem that I have with the commercial suits that are now available. It's like, oh, here you go, just put this on. And people are squeezing their body like they're a prawn. They think, oh yeah, let's go up to level 6 because it's the highest. And they're going above their blood pressure level, and there's no education about why are they pushing it in the first place, and where is it all going to go? And if all the top is blocked up, they're just creating this you imagine squeezing a tube of toothpaste with the lid still on, how gunky and yuck it's going to get in the middle.
And it's going to pop eventually.
It's going to pop out. And so this is where we need some education, even though it isn't hard to understand, just a little bit of knowledge and to use these devices correctly. That's my part to play.
So when, for example, you were to sell one of these compression suits, does it come with some sort of like instructions and advice around it? And you obviously just spoke about level 6. Like, what are the levels? What are the ranges? If you can tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so there's 6 different modes on each of the Circulates. Have 6 different modes, starting from a really nice, gentle, sequential mode, and then working up from there. So there is lots of videos on those as well. And then there's different pressures too. Wow. So that's the thing, is that you can find videos of me talking about each level, each mode, lots of information. You can contact us by email, by phone, and ask any questions that you like.
That's fun. And you said there's videos of it, so is it like on YouTube and stuff, or where would they find them?
Yes, CJ & Co, Instagram and YouTube, yes.
Oh, very good, very good. Well, we'll share all that back in the show notes towards the end. Guys, that's the end of part 2, and when we come back, I'm excited by all of this. This is all amazing. But I'm more excited to share this next part all around the intolerance test. So guys, watch our advertisements, listen to them, and we'll be back in a few moments.
Hey everyone, we are coming around every major city in Australia over the next 12 months. We have got free objective football testing going on, guys. It's for boys and girls aged 10 all the way through to 18 years of age. The objective testing is quite simple. We'll put you through our 6 tests and I'll give you your results. Physical, technical and tactical. And also, we're going to choose 16 winners to join us on an all expenses paid trip to Europe in 2024 and also 2025. Guys, what have you got to lose? Nothing. It's free to sign up. You get free objective testing and you'll get a free feedback, and maybe you'll be joining me at the Santiago Bernabeu in 2024 or 25.
Hi everyone, it's Raymond Wood, and this is the final part of episode 4. Now, we've had the amazing Chelsea Jean with us. We've spoke about our amazing gloves and the lymphatic system. We've just been speaking about compression suits, and this is the one that really excited me the most, and I think for the benefits of our players and athletes. So one of the things that I've had a problem with personally over the years has been food and drink, and choosing and deciding. There's so many different advices around it, and you should eat this, you should be gluten-free, you shouldn't drink this, you should drink that. And we've been looking for our Pro Player Pathway program to add in a full-time nutritionalist and bring that in, but I really questioned it all because I thought we need to make sure, do we actually know what people should be eating? So when I met Chelsea, she told me about this food compatible test. So anyone who's watching on YouTube, we've got this amazing brochure which we'll share back through our group, and we'll put some of the information in the show notes. And one of the big things in Europe, which is getting really popular with 2 of the biggest pro clubs at the moment, is what we call intolerance testing, which is the same thing. So can you tell us a little bit more about this food compatible test?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because as a naturopath, I'm not going to do a diet plan for anybody now unless they have done this hair compatibility test as well, because it's just guessing. Yeah. Everybody's different. Everyone's an individual. What's happening in your gut is completely different to what's happening in mine. Saying that, we do see some regular foods on the red list of not to include. So it's easy to do. We just cut off a little bit of your hair. It only has to be, with yours, it was a little bit hard to find. Yeah. You're like, just Chelsea, just cut it. About half a matchstick of hair is what we need in thickness and in length. And we send it off to the lab. And the lab is going to test it to get 600 of the main foods from your town, from your city. And what it says is, not what you're allergic to, but what are the things that when it's going through your body is causing an eruption, is causing your body to swell, is spiking, some holes through your gut lining. What are the things that when it's added up are slowing you down and causing bloating, causing headaches, causing your memory, like brain fog, your muscles not to react as fast? It's all of these things that we can now identify and give you an actual list and say, here, we've identified these things out of 600 different foods and household items. Remove them for 6 months, let your body heal the way that it should be, and then let's slowly add them back in. So when it comes up and your list is on with the red, it's not a forever. Yeah. It's not a forever thing, but they are the main ingredients that are causing the pain in your body.
Yeah, it's with our Pro Player Pathway program, it's the world's only niche personalized football development program. And it's like with anything, when we've looked at it, we said if the fuel going into the car is not right, the car's not going to run effectively. And I've really held off on adding in the nutritional element to the program. And I was so happy when I met you and I seen this, because I knew it was like a light bulb moment. It was like the flux capacitor and Back to the Future. I'm like, this is the final piece, because we're all about giving our players the best opportunity, giving them those 1%ers. But I think for me, I mean, I come in to your studio. We did struggle to find the hair, because anyone who's watching on YouTube, I don't have much hair. And we had to cut away at leg hair, and we went everywhere to get
we
hair.
Did.
And yeah, I got it sent off. I was in the UK and I messaged Chelsea to say, where are my results? I haven't seen them. And then, yeah, they had been sent, but I think they were in a junk folder somewhere. Now, the big thing for me, we got the hair sample, it got sent off. We get a list that comes back, and I've got some of my results in front of me, and it's quite interesting to talk about it. So we'll talk about the black list. So that's all the foods in black that's listed on this, and they're all foods that agree with me, and you don't get a response. So I was quite pleased that all of the green vegetables were on there.
I was happy with that. I was happy with that too.
So, but a really interesting one for me that come back red. So when we talk about the red list, was corn. And that was like, when I was looking at other vegetables, it was the only other vegetable. But then I realised how much corn I actually have in my diet, because like I'm crazy with these English style snacks called Monster Munch, which are made with corn.
Oh, there you go.
I also love like corn tortillas. I love popcorn.
Okay.
So I realised that actually most of my diet was pretty much made up of corn.
And that's the only thing that showed up.
Yeah, and I mean, being English, we call it a bacon butty or a bacon toasted sandwich. Bacon's gone for me. Duck, emu, I've never ate emu before, so that's not a disappointment. And ham and pork, which was really, really interesting. One of the things that, going back to the Pro Player Pathway, we try and make it as personal as possible. This is the beauty of this, is that it's personalised to every individual. We're very pleased to announce for everyone who's on our Pro Player Pathway, they're going to get this test. We've got just slightly under 100 players on our programme at the moment. We're going to be in the US next year, and we've got some exciting news around that in the next month or two. And we're going to look to have about 1,000 players in our programme in the next 12 months. So the fact that we can offer this, and what was really interesting to me was there's so many nutritionalists in pro clubs in the UK and in Europe, but they don't actually look at it from this level. They're not actually looking at personalised, and this is what's blown me away. And
They'll tell you to have fat, a protein, a carbohydrate at each meal and those types of things, and then say, oh, well, maybe reduce the gluten, go with lactose-free milk. But at least now with this list, you've got the actual brand that you can have. It's not just a guessing game. So you take that to the shops and you're like, okay, this is what I can have and this is what I need to remove. You had lots of meat come up. Mainly, we get 80% of results come back that say no chicken.
yeah,
So you're okay with chicken.
I'm
You're an
okay with
abnormal.
chicken, and I
Yes.
must admit I love chicken.
Yes.
One of the things that really did disappoint me was eggs, because I love eggs, and I think you get this thing about eggs and protein, and when you're in the gym and you're trying to, get a bit stronger and bigger. But to be honest, I've removed eggs, I've removed all the red foods, and I must admit, I felt like I've lost 15 kilos.
Yeah.
I haven't, but just the way I feel, I'm fitting to clothes as well. I stopped drinking alcohol about 2 years ago. And just this whole, I still had a little bit of cloudiness some mornings, but I haven't had that for 2 weeks, and it's really blown me away just by removing. Now, one thing I do want to talk on, I'm going to talk about chocolate.
You
This-
had a lot of chocolate show up, didn't you?
I've got the worst sweet tooth ever.
I could tell by your test results.
Now, what was really interesting for me, and I think this is all around education and back to athlete and back to the parents. So for any boys and girls who are on our programs, on the elite program, on the pro player pathway with us, one that come up was chocolate and Cadbury's, but one that didn't was Lindt chocolate. So I went on a little bit of a rabbit hole, and I
Yes.
explored, and it was so interesting to discover that all the different things are added into Cadbury's chocolate. And then I looked at Lindt chocolate, and it was made up of 2 ingredients. It was simple. It was cocoa and a little bit of butter. And it made me realise that once you started looking, it actually made sense because of the amount of, there was a lot of letters and a lot of numbers in Cadbury's chocolate. And it was really interesting just to see some of their ingredients. And it sort of made sense why it would be intolerant to me. So when we talk about these red lists, so you said that we don't get rid of these forever. Is that right?
No, that's right. So after about 6 months, when you will see, so when you do your test, remember I ask you what symptoms and what things are going on with your body, and you get to then say, oh, that's improved, that's improved, that's improved. You'll notice a major improvement in everything. After 6 months, you can start to add those things back into your diet slowly, or we can retest.
Okay.
And when we retest, a lot of the red ones will jump back to black and you'll be fine. But then it will add the next layer in. The ones that might have been sitting at that 58, 59% not turning red will jump in and say, okay, well, you're now ready to go to take your health to the next level again. This red list is the first list that will get you started and you'll notice a big difference. But then the next lot will go, okay, well, he wants to be healthier again and he's going to step it up.
Yeah, no, that's... In regards to me, I think one I've always known as milk. If I have any form of milk, within 5 minutes, I'm done for the day. I'm in the bathroom and it's not nice. So I wasn't shocked to find anything from a cow I can't have. Disappointed I can't eat cheese. But I think one of the cheeses I can have, which I think wasn't on there, which really pleased.
So goat's cheese, maybe? Is goat's cheese on there that you can have?
Yeah, so I think there was goat's cheese and there was another type of cheese. But also, I've always secretly known bread as well. I've always had issues in the past, feel bloated, and it pretty much said white and wholemeal breads were a no-go.
Gone. Yeah.
Would it be okay with all these red foods and drinks and stuff just to completely remove them forever? Because I'll be honest with you, the way I feel, I don't ever want to touch them again.
Yeah, when I retested, chicken took 18 months to be added back to my list.
And then are you fine eating chicken now all the time, or have you...
I will know. So we might have chicken once a fortnight, something like that.
Yeah.
But I will just, if we're out for a dinner and you get a drop plate of chicken every second one, then I'm okay to eat it. I'm not going to react.
Yeah.
But when I first took it out of my diet, I went to Bali and I thought, oh, well, Bali chicken's different to normal chicken. I'll eat it. My Bali belly happened just that day
Straight away.
from the chicken. Another time, my lips swelled up really, really bad from eating the food. So when you read your results, your brain knows that you've been given an answer to feel healthier.
Yeah.
when you go against that, it will show you. You will get diarrhea.
Yeah.
You will get a cough. You will get a runny nose. You will get puffy lips. Like there will be a reaction, because this is all about connecting with our body and learning from the small little subtle signs instead of waiting for a big whack in the head before you make a change.
So again, it's the 1%ers, and it's quite an interesting one. I've got someone who we grew up with, one of the family friends, and his name's Stephen Schumacher, and he used to play for Everton, he used to play for England, and he's now the head coach of Plymouth Argyle, who compete in the Championship, which is just below the Premier League. And Stephen had a really interesting one. He was what they would call the ghost, and he would just literally midway in the game, he'd run off a pitch to go to the bathroom and go to the toilet. And I just think back to him in those couple of episodes where he had to go to the toilet mid-game. Obviously, I've gone through a lot of stomach issues over the years and a lot of food issues, but drawing it back into the athletes, I went down, again, a bit of a rabbit hole and doing some research, and we actually discovered that if you get these intolerance tests done and these food compatible lists done, there was a bit of research out there, and it was around 35 to 40% it reduces inflammation in the body.
Yes.
It was then linked into injuries, and one of the big injuries in football is the UCL injury into your ACL injury into your knee, and also all around calf tears and micro tears, which become big tears and strains. So from that point of view, I mean, the benefits for this is...
Well, if your body doesn't have to worry about digestion and the mess that you're making in your tummy, if it doesn't have to worry about that, it can then do the extra work that it needs to around the rest of the body, can't it? So it's going to get there faster and help repair.
Yeah, and it's so funny that like we spoke about, you know, the gloves and the lymphatic system and the compression boots as well, but it then went on and spoke about recovery, because obviously if your body's not worrying about digestive system, then it was really, really interesting. And another one that led me down that rabbit hole, there's a guy in the US called Jesse Itzler, and he's a very successful entrepreneur, and he actually speaks about all he eats before noon is fruit. And that's all he eats. And the reasons behind it was quite simple, because fruits are very easy on the digestive system. And he just said, I've always felt like in life I get more out of my day if I only start it with fruit. And he doesn't eat anything other than fruit before lunchtime. And it was quite interesting that, when we went through that test. So
I would say fruit and veggies.
Yeah.
So adding your celeries to that as well. So fruit and veggies beforehand.
So going back to the test, is this again only for adults, or can this be for children? And
definitely for children. So new mothers can mix their hair with a newborn baby's hair, and then they know what to eat when they're breastfeeding.
Wow.
So we go right back to the start with babies, and then afterwards you can do children's, like a lot of kids have skin conditions, have acne, have pimples, those types of things. Eczema all comes back to gut health.
Yeah.
Anything that is showing up on the outside of the skin is what's going on in the tummy. It's just an indication. So if we can get the tummy better by reducing the inflammation, by choosing the proper foods for our kids, and then supplements. So supplements, Ray, is also so important. We cannot get the nutrients that we need from our foods anymore. Those days are gone. So kids also will need magnesium. Kids will also need zinc. Like there's lots of other supplements, that collagen and things that kids will, vitamin C, will need as well. Essential fatty acids are super important too. But from a point of view of kids growing up, yes, definitely find out early, because they're not going to come and say to you, "Oh, I've had diarrhea for the last 3 months." You know, if you can find out what foods. I have clients come in and they'll bring their kid in and we'll talk about it, and then I'll say, look, this is going to help make changes in this, this, and this, and this. They actually do it. The kids that we talk to, when they find the list, and they will then be the parent and say, oh no, I can't have that. And they learn themselves, and they feel so much better that they will help with their diet. Get your kids involved with their diet and their eating as early as you can. Getting them to eat healthy food, getting them to check the labels, look at all of those foods that end in OSE that we can't pronounce or spell.
Yeah.
Get them having a look and involved in their diet early, and then we're healing their belly all the way through. So when they become adults, they won't have this issue.
Yeah, I just think even like bigger terms as well, just the strain it can save on the medical system in Australia, Medicare, but also like even going back into Europe, the UK, like the NHS, like the savings that it could make in the medical world is huge. I mean, we work with players anything aged roughly from 5 or 6 all the way through to 23. We're pleased to announce that we are going to introduce the food compatible test into the Pro Player Pathway program. So we already know we've got the world's best development program in developing football players, and we now know how to fuel the car and how to get the right food into there. So definitely no issues for a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old all the way up to 23 years of age to do this test.
No problem at all.
I showed it to my 2 daughters who are 15 and 9, and it was really funny, I think, because it's so visual. They see the black, they see the red, and they're really excited because they want to get it done. And I said, yeah, we'll make it happen. We'll get it done for you. And like, they're already discussing last night in bed, oh, I hope Monster Munch aren't on there, and I hope this isn't on there. And it was
They get involved, and that's
yeah.
what I'm saying. They really want to know for them what works for their own body.
Yeah. It was really interesting. We did speak to one pro club back in the UK, and they said they looked at this about 7 or 8 years ago, and the costs were exponential. It was like in the region of like £5,000 to get the test done.
Yeah.
But obviously, I take it now like costs have come down with the test, and we're gonna add it into the program. So what was really interesting for any of our listeners who are outside of Australia, finally, I think to finish on the list of foods that we get. And also, it also includes drinks on there. But you spoke about to me before we got on the podcast that it actually specifies the city you're in. And does that mean if you're in England, we don't have Vegemite, but we have Marmite?
Yes.
Does it list English foods?
Definitely. It doesn't matter where you're from, whether it's New Zealand or US, UK. There's, I think, 26 different countries that we test.
Wow, because that's really important for us, because on our Pro Player Pathway programme, we discover the players, whether they be in Australia or the US, as our 2 biggest markets that we work in. We then send them for guaranteed trials to the UK and to Europe, but also we guarantee them scholarships. So a lot of them will end up in Europe and the UK, and I think it's really prevalent for us that we can then follow on this test and maybe get tested again in the UK, so they get tested against British foods as an example.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, so that's really good. So what we might do is we might try and set up 1 or 2 of our clubs that we work with in the UK, and maybe see if we can get 1 or 2 pro players in the UK to get tested, if you're happy to help us with that.
Absolutely, yes.
And I might have a chat with Mark and the guys at Tranmere Rovers and see if we can get a few of the pros to set up. Now, one final thing before we finish off. This has been an amazing podcast. I'm so excited to get this one out to everyone. But what was really interesting for me, and I just want to talk a little bit about it, but we spoke about food and drinks, but then what was really interesting, it says things like toothpaste, natural home products, and then petrochemicals. Like, was really interesting. Like, my 2 daughters are like, Dad, do you drink engine oil? And I'm like, no. Why? And he said, well, engine oils come up red. So can you explain a little bit about the concerns with that?
Yeah, so when it comes to household items, Colgate toothpaste comes up. Was it Colgate toothpaste?
Sterident,
you
which
had
is...
Sterident.
Yeah.
See, normally about 90% of the time Colgate toothpaste comes up.
Wow.
And like I got a plumber friend, and he's like, Chelsea, when I stopped using Colgate, I now sleep through the night. Just changing his toothpaste. These are the things that you would never put to toothpaste, like changing the sheets on your bed. It'll say whether you can have linen or cotton or bamboo. And because you sleep with that, you're breathing that in all of the time.
I think the interesting one for me was, I think it was feathered pillows or any sort of feathers. And that was one thing, especially in the UK, because it's so cold there, everyone's obsessed with feathered duvet covers, feathered pillows, and I always had them. But it was really interesting. For my younger years, I had a lot of issues with asthma, and I wonder if that was linked.
Yes. Yeah, so all of those household items are important as well. And then what you wash your body with, deodorants that you use as well. When it comes to petrol and the chemicals, it could be if your parents worked on cars, or whether they were farmers, and then you're born with an intolerance to those types
So when we
of
talk
things.
about like oils and stuff and that, is that like actually physically touching the oil, or even just breathing in the fumes from it?
So just be aware when it comes to household and items and things, try to stay away from them. You don't have to ban them out of your life like the food. It's like the second degree being aware of them. So don't, if you've got open tins, if tins like in your garage, maybe move them out to a shed, so those fumes aren't in your area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just be aware.
No, that's amazing. I think we're gonna wrap it up there. But just if anyone wants to reach out to you, Chelsea, have you got like a website, or how do people reach out to you?
Yeah, I think you can just Google me, Chelsea with a Y, different to the football, CHELSEY, Chelsea Jean. And you'll find me on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, Chelsea Jean Lymphatics.
Amazing. And we'll also share it in the show notes as well at the bottom. We'll put your links in and website and your social media handle. And anyone who's interested in the gloves, the compression boots, also around knee intolerance test, guys, we'll share all that information to you. And yeah, we're so excited to get all this. I think we're definitely going to get the gloves going for our players and also the intolerance test. So it's a big thank you for joining us today. And I reckon we're going to get you to come on again. So would you join us again in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely, Ray. Thank you so much for taking care of your people. Hey, it's beautiful. Well done.
Yeah, no, thank you. We're looking forward to adding some of this into our Pro Player Pathway. So, guys, a big thank you for joining us on episode number 4. And we're very excited with our next episode that we're going to be bringing up. We're going to be going back live to the UK to a pro club. And we've got some exciting news to follow on that. Enjoy your week, guys. Peace out. Hi everyone, it's Raymond Wood at the Raymond Wood Podcast. We're here back for another episode. I'm very, very excited to introduce you to Kathy DeMarcos, and we're going to do a little bit of an intro on who Kathy is and why we've got it in today, and we're super excited to have it on the podcast. So, good afternoon, Kathy.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. So, Kathy, you're currently based in Sydney.
I am.
And I want you just to give all of our listeners maybe just a little bit of a 2-minute intro to you and your business and what you do.
Gosh, okay. So Solutions to You is our actual business name. And we actually started the business with one really clear understanding, and that is to create a thorough and in-depth, perspective of what businesses are actually here to do, and that is to ensure that they have a deeper purpose other than selling a product, and certainly more than a service.
That nailed it probably in a minute and 60 seconds. That was a good one. So I want to get straight into it. We're going to deep dive straight in, and I'm going to explain a little bit later on in the podcast where to come about and how I met you. But let's talk about purpose straight off the bat, and why it's important to you and why it's important to what you do in your day-to-day.
I guess for me, there's been lots of realizations. My background is actually 4 decades in finance. I set up, institutions, financial institutions. I've set up businesses since 1997. And through that, I actually had lots of life lessons, including having suicidal clients because I had to repossess businesses and high net worth clients' assets. And that made me realise that there was more to business. And so it was, gaining an understanding of what is the real reason why I'm here. And look, it took a long time to get to where I am today, but understanding that purpose is actually so much more than actually doing something for yourself. I actually allow my business to drive the purpose of other people's lives, businesses and choices. And that then has led me to realise I'm actually here to equip people to become self-reliant. And that is, the actual entanglement that actually involves is quite deep.
Yeah. So for our listeners, we'll talk about this in the second part on our involvement, my involvement with you, and around purpose. And just to touch on from my point, I think my purpose in the early years wasn't very clear. It was like, I just want to help soccer players get better at football. Yeah. But it wasn't a real purpose. And you've educated me and taught me to not only educate myself, but to educate staff members and even family members, my daughters. I speak a lot about you to my brother and my sister-in-law and all my family overseas.
Sorry.
About purpose, and obviously we'll touch on it as well about like retreats later on, but I think I've actually started to understand the whole bigger picture, and your purpose is the end where we want to be, and we're moving along that journey as we go through. So it's been really interesting. Now, one of the big things I wanted to ask you is as well, just to build a little bit more background for our listeners before we delve in. What are some of the, apart from Euro Football Star and Professional Player Pathway, what are some of the current projects that you're allowed to share with our listeners that you could maybe touch on a little bit?
Look, I actually work at multi-leveled projects, and that includes working with visionaries, working with governments, working with businesses that are actually focused on social impact, and that includes across the world. It is giving them an understanding of what they can actually do for somebody else outside of the core of the business that they actually operate in, and also bringing it all together. I guess I look at it as being really privileged in understanding how we can change policy to actually help those at grassroots. So I run projects in, Tanzania where we help grassroots farmers actually understand the difference between farming and actually having a business that actually becomes a co-op, which, you can then actually bring buyers back to the table. It changes communities. It's not just changing, people's lives. That's the difference. So when you actually have a purpose that is actually about equipping somebody else to do something, oh my God, your entire life changes, why you get up in the morning.
Yeah, as a different perspective, and that's one of the things I think I've realised is it's not just maybe teaching a boy or girl a particular skill in soccer or football, it's actually upskilling them for life as well.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we touched on with the book, with the Professional Player Pathway. People maybe perceive it as just the pathway in football and when they're a player, but it's not. We're actually working on bigger things now, thanks to meeting you. So we're looking at that plan B. What if football doesn't work out, or what about when football comes to an end? What's the education like? What is have they been upskilled? Do they know what they're going to do next? And what is their purpose as well?
Do you know, it's interesting that you say that, and what you're doing is actually bringing so much more depth and clarity, not just to those boys and girls, but also to their parents. And they may not realise that yet, but what you're actually also equipping them with is gaining a better understanding of who they are as adults, as parents, as leaders, as guiders to these young minds that perhaps have never genuinely had the opportunity to think differently.
Yeah.
One of the things that when I work with young kids running the leadership programs, I often say to them, what's the one thing that makes you really upset that you see in the world? And if an 11-year-old can actually sit down and say, Kathy, I really, this upsets me. And then you ask them, what does it do for you? And they can express to you what those emotions are. And then you come back and you say, so what can you do about it? And an 11-year-old has a solution. Can there be any greater gift? And in some ways, that's what you're actually starting to do with what you do in the program with the Professional Player Pathway. You're getting them to understand that there is a different way of doing things.
Yeah. It was really interesting, and I've shared it with staff members and family and friends, but I haven't really shared it on the podcast. But it was really interesting. You've been in one of our rooms and you've been to our event, I think it was in Sydney, and we do our 2-hour free event, and it was really interesting because you actually made me realise that I always knew there was two groups of people in the room. There was the players and the parents, but I didn't actually really think that they actually both want different outcomes.
Yeah.
And what was really forefront in my mind, and I've realised this past 12 months, is that the mums and dads, with all due respect, they don't really care about the football or the sport. It's more about, is there an academic option? Is there an education?
Yeah.
Is there a job opportunity potentially at the end of it?
Yeah.
Because they understand that football might go for 10 years or 15 years, where the 11-year-olds in the room, they're just so football focused.
Yeah.
And I think our first offering that we made 18 months ago was very football focused. and we've come to that realisation that if we're talking about a pathway, it's got to be a life pathway, not just a football pathway.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
You know, it's the same thing in business. You know, people actually think that people turn up for a job or a role. No, they're turning up as a whole person. There is so much more to that person, and when you actually understand that in business, then you have a really different perspective. It's the same with sport.
Yeah, exactly the same. Exactly the same. Now, we're speaking about current projects at work, and I'm glad you bought them. You've got them in front of you. Now, I'm going to be really honest. I still haven't really read these fully, but I know you've given a gift of the book to my daughter, and she's read the book. Can we talk about the one closest to you? So the same people, different vision.
Yeah, so this one was actually written, I started writing this when my father actually became critically ill, but it dawned on me that I actually had the ability to see things in business really, really differently, and it was coming from a solution-focused. It wasn't just a win-win, it had needed to be a win-win-win outcome at every time. And so it was just giving people an understanding as to how to look at things, but through a different lens. It's not being a different person, just having a really different perspective. And this gives examples, you know, including looking beyond being resilient. You know, I often say to people, resilient is a baseline. You need to start to become anti-fragile because that then strengthens you. And you would need that in sport as well.
Yeah.
Right? What have you learnt? What have you taken away to actually strengthen from every situation? Yeah. So that's what this book actually includes.
Amazing. Now, it was funny, we touched on a little bit about social impact and taking it back into football. I worked on one of the world's biggest projects with the Premier League back in 2011 for a few years. And they come up with a premise of when we look at a player and we look at their learning journey, there's a four-corner model approach. And the four-corner model was physical, technical, tactical, and the interesting one was social. And when we had to sit down as a group, we had to talk about what each of them meant. We actually had to really talk about what it meant from a social point of view, on and off the park. And we discovered the stuff off the park socially was way more important than on it, because we discovered if we socially integrated these young boys and girls properly and taught them things about like social impact, they become better people off the pitch, which then makes them better players on the pitch and advocates of the game. Can you talk just a little bit about you? Like, you can give me one example of social impact and something that you've done or worked on, or explain it for someone. And I'll be honest, up until that point when I was working with these project managers on it, I didn't really fully understand, and I still don't believe I fully understand social impact from your perspective.
So I actually look at it as, you know, what are my skills? My skills are actually, I understand business, I understand finance, and I understand people. You know, I have a counselling background as well. So if I can actually take everything that I know and incorporate it in the way that I actually do business, and then actually show others how to do exactly what I do, which means that I actually have a very high percentage of my business, it's more than 50%, where my actual income goes towards equipping somebody else to actually do exactly what I do. That is a social impact. I don't get anything for it. I'm literally paying it forward. I'm actually showing you or Joe or Fred or Sammy how to actually set up a business, how they can actually get their staff to actually understand that they're not there to tick a box. They're there to actually do something that genuinely shows somebody else that they're there to serve them. That's all it is. And it's really hard for a lot of people to understand that. You know, people say to me, what do you do? I literally get up in the morning and think, how many people can I actually pass on that skill and knowledge so that they understand that the benefit that they give somebody else is going to create a ripple effect. That ripple effect, honestly, it's like that little drop, you know, that raindrop that actually falls into the water. Well, what happens? That body of water rises and everything in it rises at the same time. So if we actually share a little bit of our knowledge, a little bit of our time to somebody else to understand how we can contribute to elevate somebody else, oh my God, we are living on a totally different planet.
It's funny you spoke about paying it forward, and I think I've shared this with you, but a couple of years ago I first seen I think it was on TikTok, and it was a pay it forward sort of post that someone had put on, and it was a guy who was in a queue of McDonald's, and he said, the car behind, I'm going to pay for them.
Yeah.
So then when they pulled up, their food was paid for.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning fast food and takeaways as well, we'll make that one clear. And I think the first time I done it, I was in a supermarket in Woolworths, and there was an older lady behind me.
Yeah.
And I sort of hung around packing my bags, and a shopping come up. It was like $70.
Yeah.
And I've just tapped it before she could tap, and I've just run out.
Yeah.
And she was like absolutely confused. And I still really didn't get at that point what it was, paying it forward.
Yeah.
But the point we're trying to get to that is that there's a lot of this going on now, and I think like the effects it has, it makes you feel good, but also just puts a smile on someone's day. You don't know what they're going through on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But it's one of the key ones that we wanted to make with the Pro Player Pathway when we set up the rooms around the world. We wanted it to be free. We want people to come in and learn. They get to come in with us and learn for 2.5 hours. Then if they choose to come on the programme, obviously there's a money element, but what we want to do is not hit people with money straight up front. It's like, come in, learn something, and you can walk out that room a lot more knowledgeable, and you don't have to contribute any money. And that, in a way, is us paying it forward a little bit. Can you give an example of you with paying it forward, and maybe a good one that you've seen, or one that you work on, or projects you've seen? Or
Well, the way we pay things forward is we actually run programs for young kids, and we run them from the ages of 11 all the way through to school leavers. They actually learn entrepreneurial skills, they learn leadership skills, communication, negotiating, the social impact, and it's all for free, you know. So, and we put through over 150 students every year, and then we do a second one which is specifically for school leavers, and again that's actually over 140 kids, and that is equipping them to enter the workforce. I also actually teach financial literacy. You know, I look at that as an opportunity to show people what they have never been able to understand before. So many people say numbers are just not my thing. But the reality is that numbers aren't your thing, because nobody's really taken the time to allow you to understand in a way that you understand. And so I do all of that, we do all of that for free. So the commitment then is, what are you going to then do for free as you pass it on?
Yeah.
And so you can see that the ripple effect is
again.
just endless.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Before we go to our first break, we're going to finish off for this first section with how we met. Now, you've just spoke about entrepreneurial skills that you teach kids, and we did meet in an entrepreneurial room. And it's really interesting. I've gone into a few of these rooms over the past 3 or 4 years, and admittedly, when I was younger, you know, you get a lot of people in any way of life, a lot of egos in there. Everyone wants to talk, and they're chatting away. But it was funny, in this room in Sydney, there was a lady sat there, which was you, and you were very quiet in the room, and I was sat in the corner myself trying to observe the room. And one of my mentors in the football world said one of the best things you can say sometimes is say nothing and just sit there. And he said the person who doesn't say much, they're normally the most interesting person in the room. So I obviously did come up to you and ask you who you was and what you were doing in there, because I was really intrigued. And yeah, we just talk a little bit about how we met that day in that room and why you were in that room that day.
I always actually have a belief that I don't know everything. And so, you know, I need to actually put myself in situations where there's an opportunity for me to learn. And that was no different. Also actually getting to know where different people are at, you know, especially when you're going into a room where there's entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Everybody's, you know, coming from a really different place. And so I had actually brought my son in, and you don't even remember seeing him, right?
I
Interesting.
definitely...
And he was talking a lot. So for me, it was, I mean, he's on an entrepreneurial journey as well. So it was like, just turn up. You just don't know what you're going to learn. So it was curiosity. You got to be curious in life. And so that's what really brought me into that room. did I walk away with, any learnings? I think some of the learnings were in what not to do.
Yeah. But at least you're learning still.
Look, I'm eternally learning.
Yeah.
And also actually discovering more about myself.
Yeah.
That's an eternal learning curve.
Yeah. It's really interesting we talk about entrepreneurial rooms, and I want to cover this one off because I know growing up, we had a good upbringing and mum and dad looked after us, and we didn't want for nothing. We had food on the table, we had clothes on our backs, we went to school. We could never complain.
Yeah.
But we didn't have as much as other kids and vice versa. But really interesting growing up, and you'd sit and watch mainstream TV and media and newspapers and the way entrepreneurs are depicted. And they're all money hungry people, and they're bad people, and they're going to do wrong by it, and they're not good people, and they don't pay any taxes. And it's really interesting going from the upbringing I had to now being an entrepreneur and trying to run multiple businesses and trying to help people and have a purpose. It's really interesting once you go into the world. It's like with anything in life, there's good and bad people, admittedly.
Yeah.
But I must say I've met a lot of really amazing people who go under the radar.
It's interesting. I think I was listening to something this morning, and they were actually talking about one of the highest awards that the King just recently awarded some people. And there was a debate about who they actually...
I read this.
So we won't go into detail, but I think for me...
Was it a certain person from Victoria?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes. And so, for me in that moment, the point of crystallisation is that there are people that are actually publicly seen and known, and it's them that seem to be recognised. But there are so many people that exactly what you've just said, fly in under the radar and just get stuff done.
Yeah.
And they're the silent heroes, but they're the ones that are actually creating greater impact.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting. I listened to a podcast a few weeks ago, and it was a guy called Martin Golden, and they spoke about there's two types of heroes. He said there's heroes, the ones who want to be in the limelight and want to get a certificate and a trophy.
Yeah.
And then there's the superheroes.
Yeah.
And his depiction of the superheroes are the ones who go,
Yeah.
you'll never know who they are and the names, but they're just working away in the dark, just making it happen. And I think, from my point of view, looking at it that way, I think it's a nice way to be. And you're going out with the right purpose in life.
I talk about that a lot. That's actually chasing the shiny object.
Yeah.
That shiny object being a trophy, that shiny object being the next new thing. If you were here genuinely to serve a bigger purpose in life, none of that matters. You just get in, you roll your sleeves up, you find a way how to do it. That grit and determination is what actually gets you up every single day, because that purpose is bigger than you.
Yeah, it is. And it's to finish on that one, we've gone down this journey with people chasing trophies in the sports world and chasing trophies at 10 and 11 and 12. And I'm like, my big ambition in life is to have many, many pictures on my website of players that we've helped along the way. And they're my trophies, to see smiling faces that they've had some involvement in football, and hopefully from a playing point of view, they've had some form of a career. But then they've gone on to something bigger and better past that, because to them at a young age, they think playing pro football is the be and end all.
Yeah.
But it's only when you get old like me and you actually realise there's a little bit past that playing career.
Yeah.
And it's what you're doing past that, and that's what's really important. We're about to go to our first ad break, and we will be back in a few minutes, but a big thank you for listening to our first part.
Would you one day like to be a professional football player? Would you like to be part of our pro player pathway? What is the pro player pathway? It's an opportunity for all Australian football players aged between 10 and 23 who want to join us to become the next professional football player. On the pro player pathway, you get to join me and my team free of charge to an event all around Australia. When you join me, we're going to teach you the secrets of football in Europe. And one day, maybe, you could be gracing the Champions League final. Guys, over the next 12 months, we're going to be coming around all the major cities of Australia. And when we come around all the major cities, we're going to be running our free events everywhere we go. So guys, what have you got to lose? Nothing. It's a free event. It's for boys and girls aged 10 to 23. And I'm going to teach you the secrets of becoming a top European football player. Oh, and one final thing. We're going to be giving away 20 scholarships to join me on this programme of a lifetime.
Hi everyone, it's Raymond Wood of the Raymond Podcast. We're back with Kathy DeMarcos. Now, we just spoke a little bit about how we met. And in the first section, we spoke about one of your books, which was The Same People, Different Vision. Can you talk a little bit about this next book?
Yeah.
So, was this first or was that one first?
No, this was the first one.
So this is your second
and
one?
Well, there's a few in between.
Yeah.
But that one was specifically created because a lot of people don't know how. How is, I think, the most common question I get asked, and it's one word, right? Yeah. How do you do it? Well, it's that. It's being intentionally conscious. And a lot of people talk about being intentional and they talk about being conscious. But I say until you actually know how to map those two things together, it does not work. And so being intentionally conscious talks a little bit about my life, and where that trajectory changed living with a Maasai some 9 years ago. And actually understanding the cues that we get, the little nudges, because we all get them. Yeah. It's whether we recognise them or not, and that's being intentionally conscious. So that actually creates a roadmap. It's actually about gratitude, and it's about reflection, and it's about setting your goals and intentions.
Yeah.
So, and it's got lots of my personal quotes and personal photos in there.
So when you talk about gratitude, what does gratitude mean to you?
Do you know, it's interesting because I think people look at me and think that gratitude and joy mean that everything goes right, You've got everything to be happy for. Well, I'm actually even grateful for the situations where I find struggles, obstacles, where I actually really am challenged. I'm grateful for those moments because they're my greatest opportunity to learn and discover more about who I choose to become.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny how many people in life and society in general, they see something that's gone wrong, but they just see it straight away as a negative. And then they end up down that rabbit hole. And I think I spoke to you, I went and I'd went and seen a movie the other day, and I won't spoil it, but there was a particular movie that's just come out, and I think it's the fourth one in these type of movies without spoiling the movie. But there was a guy who died in the movie,
right? And
he has a cardiac arrest, and while he's dead, he has an epiphany that, why do we worry about so much stuff?
Yeah.
And why are we not living with less fear?
Yeah.
Why are we not more grateful? And then he got brought back to life, and he come back a completely different person, and he started living from that point forward, and that was really interesting. And I didn't expect to see it in this movie because it's an action movie and it's all fast and pace and people getting shot and killed. But it was for me, it's funny how you start to notice different things in movies and books and podcasts that you wouldn't normally pick up on. Really interesting on the front cover of this book is choosing not to sleepwalk through life.
Yeah.
Come on, build on that a little bit for us.
Well, actually, it's one of my TED Talks. It's my second TED Talk. So, I'm a really big believer that I think most of us actually sleepwalk through life. And what I mean by that is we're not conscious. Everything that we do is just on autopilot. We do what we've done yesterday. Our actual belief system is actually based on what we have actually done in the past or what somebody else has told us. That is sleepwalking. And so for us to genuinely change that dial, change the motherboard and create a new imprint, we've got to do something different. But that means that we've got to be so present. Eckhart Tolle, talks about that quite a lot, about being present in the moment. Well, when you're present in the moment, you will notice the smallest of things. Yeah. And you've heard me say that, I've noticed your actual breath just changed. What just happened for you? And people go, what? But that's actually being awake and conscious and present for, whatever's happening in front of you.
I think that goes back to when I've spoke to you about this, about when we get in the football world and you get a player, and people think getting a younger player is always better because you can imprint and teach them things from day one. And that's true, because players who are 15, 16, unfortunately, one of the processes we discovered in the Premier League level is that if you are, say, a Manchester City and you're getting a player from, say, Oxford United, and no disrespect to Oxford, but sometimes there's a learning in there that you've got to unlearn a process and then relearn. And that's probably the same in your world. And I know you've spoke about that.
Yes, so gosh, I think there's staff that have actually written about how I actually do that, and it is what they tend to say is Kathy actually helps you become comfortable with being uncomfortable, which actually means that it's actually showing you what's not serving you, and that's what needs to be unlearnt, so that you then can create a new imprint, and that new imprint is actually about helping you become that person that you choose to become.
Now, the next one I'm talking about that, the person you choose to become, you know where we're going now. We're going to start talking retreats in Bali. And I was, like most people, guilty of blockages and just put roadblocks. And we get it in the room, like when we go in with parents and they all come in with the best intentions. We want our son or daughter to make it as a professional, and the minute you give them an opportunity to join you on the programme, they start coming up with all the hurdles, all the blockages, the reasons why, and it's like, wait there, you've come in this room saying you've never had an opportunity like this before. We're going to give you a scholarship, but then you come up with every excuse under the sun. I'm one of them. You invited me to a retreat to Bali, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and we're going to spend probably 10 minutes on this one. And I don't think intentionally I come up with blocks, but I used my 2 daughters as excuses, the business as excuses. And firstly as well, my depiction of what a retreat in Bali was, I'm thinking sleeping in till 11 o'clock, having a breakfast, sit round the pool, go on a waterfall, meditate, have dinner, maybe have a beer or 2, and then you go to bed. Definitely is not like that. I can tell you for all my listeners, it was like going to the gym for 8 days, but not working on this physical body, working internally. So we went from 6 a.m. till midnight most nights. We experienced some of the most amazing things. So for everyone who's listening in, why retreats and why Bali?
A number of reasons. First of all, it's taken me 5 years to actually find the right location, the right co-facilitator. Everything that I actually do is, there's a lot of thought process. So the retreat is actually curated, but until you actually take people out of their environment, those patterns keep actually coming up, right? They will actually creep in at the retreat as well. But when you place people in an environment where you are genuinely supporting them and actually being intentional and conscious about everything that they're experiencing and addressing it as they actually arise, then you can't help them actually break that circuit. And people actually come because they genuinely want to become that better person. You know, a lot of people actually say, you know, I feel stuck, or, you know, I want to succeed, but they don't know what succeed actually means. Or, you know, I want to actually contribute. Well, what do you want to contribute to? There is something, they're yearning something, they have no idea what it is. And when they actually, you know, reach that point of, all right, I'm going to do it, then that's when I actually know that they're ready, because people aren't just in, you know, they can't just apply and they won't even see it anywhere. They need to be invited. This is curated to have the right people in the room that are ready for genuine transformation. I don't just use and throw words out. This is real transformation, which you've seen, and the transmissions that you actually get come from having a retreat done in a particular way. There's a sequence. You know, just like any change has a sequence. Manifestation just doesn't happen. There's a sequence, right? So Bali, this particular location, you know, it actually has a natural waterfall. It is so powerful, which you know. It has natural springs, but the land is actually permaculture land, so it's actually farm to plate. So everything about it is actually about its purity. So you were engulfed.
It was amazing. I was physically tired when I got home. Like, I felt like I needed to have a week's holiday on a beach somewhere to recover. But it was, and it's made me look at everything in life in general completely from a different lens. I know we've spoken about that, and what I thought was a purpose really wasn't me thinking big enough. It was thinking very small.
Do you know, and I think sometimes when people are actually asked what's your purpose, they either have no idea or they'll actually choose something that they know that they will succeed.
Yeah.
That is not what a purpose is. I think I had a discussion this morning, you know, and somebody said, well, what's your purpose? And I said, my purpose is actually to equip people to become self-reliant. And they went, holy crap, that's massive. And I went, I didn't choose it to actually, you know, succeed. I chose it so that I keep striving to get there.
And to stretch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we were on the retreat, I will, if it's okay with you, I'll share a little bit about the retreat. So we've done a whole heap of things like meditation, yoga. We had discussion groups, which are very private and personal, which was good. It was emotional, it was exciting, it was happy. I think one of my biggest takeaways was actually, and I've done a lot of research and reading on it, but it was all around about being grounded and being at one with nature, and like those waterfalls that we experienced, and the water ceremony that we done was just unbelievable.
Yeah. You know, I meditate, but you would have noticed that as I sat under that waterfall, I really wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that is the gift that you actually get when you genuinely immerse yourself and you actually understand to the depth of what you're actually there to do, and allowing yourself to go through that process. That actual inner, you know, learnings that you do there, you can't just do, you know, in your normal environment. And it has to be a repeated pattern. When you don't actually keep doing that and then adding and building, it doesn't create a new, you know, circuit on that motherboard.
Yeah.
And it actually genuinely starts from in here, to be quite honest. So
a big one from the sports world, I know you're privy to, but like nutrition is super, super important. And I think that week spent in Bali, like just some of the foods we had and the colours in the foods, like I've never seen. What was that purple fruit we were eating? Was it
the dragon?
The dragon fruit?
Not the dragonfly, but the dragon fruit.
Yeah, we won't talk about dragonflies. We might do in a minute, actually. But yeah, just the food, like, was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And these amazing people in Bali who literally are there servicing you, breakfast, lunch, evening meal.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever a problem.
Yes.
Everyone's got a smile on your face. And I'm sitting there thinking, they've actually got it right. Maybe we've got it all wrong over where we live. And they just seem so happy and content. And yeah.
It's service.
Service, yeah.
You know, they're there to serve.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we forget in business, in relationships. You know, it's not about what I can get.
Yeah.
It's about what can I genuinely give you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people actually think that that's what they want.
Yeah.
But it's not even about what they want. Understand what people need,
Yeah.
listen to what they say they want, and actually serve them so that they walk away, you know, in a much better place.
Yeah. It's funny, we spoke about, I think, at dinner last night, and we went out with a few friends and we spoke about one of the big ones that I got from one of the clubs I worked with over the years was serve others before self. And it's such a valid point, but I think as well, it definitely is important. You need to make sure you look after you. But my point with that is if you're going to serve others before self, to be able to serve others, you've got to look after yourself. And you've got to spend that time on yourself. And that's one of the things that I've realised, that I'm trying to do so much for my two daughters. I'm trying to do so much for staff. I'm trying to do so much for all of our players globally around the world.
Yeah.
But you also forget the most important element, and that's you.
Yeah.
And just to touch on that one, and if you can speak a little bit about why you think that's so important, and as the retreat is important for people.
Do you know, it comes back to how can you possibly honestly give service, advice, support to somebody else when you are not actually whole yourself, you know. And I come back to, we've talked about it before, but vibration and energy. So if I'm actually not at my highest potential, at my highest vibration, I'm actually going to then be lowering anything that I actually put out into the world. So for me to be able to support you, I have to take care of me.
Yeah.
So my day, as you know, between 4 and 6, I wake up, but it starts with a meditation. I need to actually ground myself and actually know what it is that I'm doing for myself, healing myself, keeping myself pure, you know, and then I can actually go out and do what I need to do.
Amazing. Now we have to go to another quick break, so I apologise, but we're going to come back and we're going to finish off with something that I originally signed up for and can't commit to now, but you are going to be doing. And I'm hoping that I can get involved a little bit more next year. So again, big thank you. We're going to go to our next ad break and we'll be back with you in a couple of minutes.
Hey everyone, we are coming around every major city in Australia over the next 12 months. We have got free objective football testing going on, guys. It's for boys and girls aged 10 all the way through to 18 years of age. The objective testing is quite simple. We'll put you through our 6 tests and I'll give you your results, physical, technical and tactical. And also, we're going to choose 16 winners to join us on an all expenses paid trip to Europe in 2024 and also 2025. Guys, what have you got to lose? Nothing. It's free to sign up. You get free objective testing and you'll get a free feedback, and maybe you'll be joining me at the Santiago Bernabeu in 2024 or 25.
Hi everyone, it's Raymond Wood at the Raymond Wood Podcast. We're back with Kathy DeMarcos for our final little section. Now, originally a couple of months ago, I signed up. I seen this initiative online called the Vinnie's Sleep Out. And I since have had to cancel because I've got to go to Singapore for work. But then I discovered that you're going. And not only you going, you know some of the people at the higher level who are involved in it. So we want to give it a good push because obviously I've seen a lot of amazing stuff and what it's about and the reason why we're doing it. So can you explain to our listeners to maybe give Vinnie's a bit of help with this?
So this is actually their 20th year. And originally actually started from, women sitting around a table and talking about the homelessness situation. And, that was in New South Wales, but this has now actually become Australia-wide. And St Vincent's obviously does quite a lot of work in supporting, the homeless. It's, providing food, shelter, even support network in respect to trying to place them into employment. So when I actually was invited to sit down in New South Wales and to speak to the CEO of Vinnie's and the actual founder who started the CEO Sleep Out and a few of the local people within council, they started to identify it has become an increasing crisis. So here we are in the 21st century, 20 years on, and we have more people homeless today than what we have ever had. And part of that is actually, attributed to we have no housing. We've got a housing crisis, but it's beyond that. So we talked about, for me, it is what's the preventative situation? We've got to really look to address that. But in the first instance, we've got to go back to Maslow's law. We've got to make people feel safe.
Yeah.
So this Sleep Out, and it's national, is actually about raising much needed funds to actually at least get people off the street and in shelter to start off with. So people are contributing to a one night, and by no means does that actually give us an understanding as to what it's like. But that actual raising of funds is actually going to get perhaps somebody, one meal, a night off the street, maybe a week's meals. For me, it is just actually being conscious, can you contribute? Can you do something? I mean, I know Australia is actually a really generous nation and we contribute to a lot of things, but this is something that I know we walk past and we look at people and we think another homeless person, but what are we going to do to contribute?
Yeah. The first time I come across homelessness, I'll be honest, when I really felt I was aware of it was in my early 20s. I was living in the US. I just couldn't believe it. Like, it was like, what? Like, every bridge you drove under, there was 10, 20 people. And then to live in places like, I was very fortunate, I think I've said to you, in places like Las Vegas and Nevada, like, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I actually sat down one day with another coach from London, and we sat down and we decided to go out that day and take food out with us and sausage rolls and sandwiches, and we just talked to people.
Yeah.
And the general people we were speaking to were like people who discovered their wives or husbands had maybe been cheating on them, they got divorced, they took all the money, they went to Vegas, lost it all, and they had nowhere to go. And it was absolutely devastating. And then I told you last night at dinner, like Hawaii,
Yeah.
it's one of the worst places I've seen. Like, you wouldn't think Hawaii, and you see all the money in tourism, but in the back streets of Hawaii, I just still don't get how it can happen on this planet. And you know, we think we've got problems because the microwave breaks or we've got a flat tire, but we haven't really got problems. But you see what a lot of people are going on with.
There is so much that actually leads to homelessness, and I think for me that's one of the things that I'd really love to be able to address. You know, we've got to equip people to actually be in a better position so that they don't get to that stage, and that includes, you know, their actual mental stability, their actual ability to be employed, education. There is so much more that's involved, but for the time being, we need to get people in shelter.
Yeah, and get off the streets.
Get off the streets.
So we will obviously share the links into our show notes for everyone who's listening.
Yeah.
And obviously it's one that we really want to support, and we'll jump on and make a donation as well. Again, in the show notes we're going to put in about your books, and also we're also pleased we've finally got the Pro Player Pathway book, which I'm super proud of, and we'll share that in the show links. Now also we are going to be coming back, and the idea is to do 3 podcasts with you, and hopefully I haven't overcommitted and I've roped you in, but what we're going to do is we're going to probably spend the whole episode on purpose, because I think it's really important, not more so for our players, but our mums and dads actually understanding a purpose.
Yeah.
And then obviously we want to then revisit also a little bit about like retreats and bettering yourself and empowering yourself. So if you will join us again for those other 2 episodes when you come up to Brisbane, we'd love to have you on.
Pleasure.
So a big thank you from me at the Rainbow Podcast and Kathy DeMarcos for joining us, and we look forward to speaking to you all in our next episode. A big thank you. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Hi everyone, this is Raymond Wood from the Raymond Wood Podcast. We're back again with another amazing podcast episode, and we've got with us Stuart Briggs today from Acceleration Australia. I've known Stuart for probably 17 or 18 years. I think I met him the first year I actually moved out to Australia, and we're going to introduce you to someone who's very inspirational. He works in the sporting field across many sports, and some of the stuff that he does in the sporting world's phenomenal, and some of the gains that he gets. So hopefully for our listeners over the next 45 to 50 minutes, you're going to come away a lot wiser, and I guarantee you're going to want to reach out for your son or daughter to Acceleration Australia, because Acceleration Australia is someone I've used for my daughters for many, many years, and I love the work they do. Stuart, how are you?
Oh, I'm great, thanks, Ray. I appreciate you bringing me in.
Lovely to have you in. Now, I've wanted to get you in for a while, and believe it or not, before we actually caught up in the dog park a couple of months ago and we retouched base again, I was going through my phone trying to find your details to see if I could get you on the podcast, and we bumped into each other with our dogs in the dog park, and I think it was fate, it was meant to be.
It must have been, mate. It's a fantastic way to re-engage. It was great to see you. Yeah.
So before we start and we talk about your background and how you started your career and how you started getting involved in sports, just for our listeners, can you just explain Acceleration Australia, what it is, who you serve, and what the aim and the purpose of Acceleration Australia is?
Yeah, we'll go into the history of Acceleration Australia, but our mission is to help athletes move faster, get stronger, jump higher for sporting competition. And that mission has been just a laser light where we're exactly where we're going with the company, and we've done nothing since the year 2000. So, look, I'll go back into the history and everything in the future in a little bit, but in terms of Acceleration Australia, that's our focus. But because that's our focus, all of our staff, there's 20 staff or whatever, that's all they want to do is train athletes. That's all Acceleration does, is focus on that. So it's a very pointed way of thinking, but what it does, it means that we're true specialists in that area. So.
Yeah, I think it's critical for
most sports, all sports, like to be able to move quickly, and especially it's more paramount for football, soccer. One of the things that we do 99% of the time is we don't have the ball and we're moving around without the ball. So if you can move half a second quicker over 20 metres, that's a game changer.
Massive. It is huge. Like 0.1 of a second is around about, depending on the pace of the person, is around about, it can be up to about 80 centimetres difference over 20 metres. 80 centimetres is a long way. Yeah. So it's about 0.12 of a second difference in your 20 metre will increase your speed by a metre. A metre over someone else is remarkable. It's the difference between having the ball and not having the ball. So
there was a game of football on this morning. It was Champions League semi-final. Yeah. Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid. Bayern Munich and Real Madrid drew 2-2 in Germany a few weeks ago. They went into the game at Real Madrid. Bayern Munich were winning 1-0 with 10 minutes to go. Carlo Ancelotti then makes a few substitutions, and one of the players he brings on Joselu. Exactly that, half a metre ahead of two players, 2 touches in 6 minutes, and the game's over 2-1. Okay. Real Madrid are going to London to play in the biggest game of football, to probably be crowned champions for the 15th time in European history, which is phenomenal. And that just shows you those little small yards, the strategic planning of a substitute with 10-15 minutes to go can be the difference in winning the biggest prize in world football, in my eyes, the Champions League final. Otherwise, like Bayern Munich are now on a flight back to Germany, going home with nothing to celebrate for the season.
Pace is amazing. I've watched my son play a lot of FIFA over the years, and one of his favourite things to do is get players with pace.
With pace.
Yeah, and look at the midfield. Some guys can get away with a little bit of lack of pace, but, I mean, bringing that player on, I would assume that guy's got pace. So he brings him in, got pace, he's a bit fresher, bang, bang, game over. And speed is, look, on the flight from America back to Australia to start Acceleration Australia, we wanted our logo to be a running man, and we wanted the name to be Acceleration, because from 0 to 20 metres, or a little bit further sometimes, but 0 to 10, 0 to 20 metres is all the difference that you need in most sports. So
now in our programme, the Professional Player Pathway, we've got 7 pillars, and each pillar is to complement the athlete and the football player. And we're crossing over into other sports as well, which is exciting for us. But I think like yous are definitely one of them pillars, and I don't think people actually understand how important having some of these pillars are as an athlete. They think if you're a tennis player or a rugby league player, just getting coached by your coaches is enough to make it, and it's not, is it?
No, it's not at all. I think the reason being is it is a lot of work, and it takes quite a long time. But I think the main thing, I take people through a journey. So with Acceleration, it's performance training. So when I first came back to Australia, I was insistent that our name wasn't associated with strength and conditioning. It was associated with performance coaching. So people are coming to be trained performance training. It's not strength and conditioning, completely different thing. Yeah. You're not coming in to lift weights. You're coming to become a better athlete, period. So if that means that you're not lifting a weight in that workout to become a better athlete, that's what matters, yeah. And realistically, when parents or of athletes or athletes that are adults or whatever, when they're coming in, they want to see a bump up in performance. And every training session, every training program that's designed has elements of training and development. And that training is about today. We want to get some immediate feedback going, hey, is this right? Is this making me quicker, or is this making me better? And then there's a lot of training that's development. So some programs have a little bit of training and a lot of development. Some programs, more high-end athletes or whatever, have a lot more training for results today and less development because they're already older and that sort of thing. They don't need as much development, long-term development. But everyone needs some encouragement early so that they go, oh, I'm on the right path. This place is actually going to make me faster or whatever. And the reality is it takes years.
Yeah.
A great example of that is an AFL player that trained with us for 5 years. His name was Connor Budrick, and he trained with us on the Gold Coast. 5 years of training, fastest kid in the AFL draft, gets drafted super high by Gold Coast Suns and does really well. Was an okay athlete when he arrived, don't get me wrong, but he became, from an AFL point of view, world class for speed, and that got him a great draft position, and that set him up for his career potentially, So I think pace has a massive to do with that, but it's also the quality of movement. So we're not just talking about how fast someone gets, because that's something tangible that someone can hold on to, going, oh, my 20 metres a lot quicker. But it's also the quality of movement. Football players, in particular, a lot of football players, because the ball's at their feet a lot as they're developing, sometimes they build some strange running styles. So we want that running form to be quality so that they're smooth, but also so they're injury-free, so that when they're hitting their peak at 26, 27 or whatever, they're not doing a hamstring because they have poor running technique. Yeah. You need them to move quality movement so that way they can have a long career.
Yeah, when I was in the UK coaching back in the Premier League, and it was when I was at Leicester City, and they took a lot of sports scientists on from Loughborough University, and the head guy was originally from Australia, and his name's just gone, he's left me head, but he spoke about with the athletes being effective and efficient with your running, and he spoke about, when he said effectiveness, he said like your running technique's got to be perfect. He said, and if you're not putting practice and effort into it, you'll never be good at running. And it was quite interesting at the time, because a lot of people at the club were like, this is all nonsense, they're not runners. Well, they are runners, because if they've got to run 20 metres to try and win that ball or intercept that ball, that half a second difference is the difference in getting the ball or not. And it was funny enough that when the Triple P project went through the clubs, and then Leicester City took a huge focus on sports science, they took on 20 interns from Loughborough Uni. There's no surprise to me that 4 years later they won the Premier League.
Wow.
But what then blew me was that I heard from colleagues and ex-colleagues at the club, then they started to backtrack and remove some of those people from the club, and they then got relegated out the Premier League. And it's like, now they're back in the Premier League, and guess what? The using youth turns again from Loughborough Uni. So wow. It shows you the difference it can make. Now, I've spoke about it before. My eldest girl's a professional tennis player. She come to you at the age of 9 and 10 originally, which was over 5-6 years ago. She went through a spate of tennis training, acceleration training, and within that first 12 months of doing acceleration, she won Brisbane titles, she won state titles, and then at the age of 10, she went on and won the national title, the Rod Laver. Wow. And I know for a fact, if there was a lot of reasons why she won it, but if she wouldn't have done your program, she probably wouldn't have won it. She wouldn't have seen it through, because if in her first round in the national titles, she got pitted against the number 1 seed, and she saw it off quite easily. But she played against the number 2 seed in the final, and I still remember the shot. It was at juice point.
Wow.
She had to go from the baseline to the edge of the net. At the end of the game, it was tied up a set all, and it was a 6-all in a tie break, a super tie break. Wow. And she sprinted for her life, and she got to that, and she fell flat on the floor. She got the ball just over the net, but there's no way she gets to that ball. And that was the difference. And that girl was deflated, because she thought she had my daughter beat. And I still say to this day, that girl on the other side of the net technically is a better player at the time than my daughter.
Yeah.
But it was speed that got it over the line, and it shows you how important it is.
It's huge. I think it was really prevalent in my mind when I was watching American football, to be honest. So I was working with American football, college football, and like, my athletes were definitely the strongest, and we're manhandling these teams and stuff like that. And then I was seeing the pace of some of the other teams, and I was just like, this is driving me nuts. Like I can't really affect the game through strength anymore, because once you've kind of got that taken care of, you're creating holes in the line of defense, and then you need to bust that gap with a fast running back or whatever it was. American football is a very high athleticism sport. Like, it's crazy good to work with as a coach. Yeah. And from my perspective, but speed was where it was at. And I was then watching basketball games. I was watching football, soccer, and I was great mates with Sean Holmes, the head coach of the football soccer in America team, and he was a Canadian guy and a fantastic coach and stuff. And I was just like, mate, we need to do more speed work. Like, this is crazy. I like the strength training and stuff, but realistically, your players really need the speed work, you know? And it makes such a difference. I had a bit of a reputation for it because I did it with baseball. And the baseball team at Bowling Green, where I was an assistant strength coach, had never done any speed work. No one had done speed work. And I was like, this is craziness. Baseball, mate. Why are you running a 3 kilometre, or it's like a 3 mile or a 1 mile fitness test or whatever? I was like, that has nothing to do with baseball whatsoever.
It's not relevant, eh?
Nah. So I just went out and bought sleds, did shoots and all this sort of stuff. And they won a championship for the first time in 25 years. So 1973 was the first one, 1998 was the next one, which was the year that I was a strength coach. They loved my work so much that I'd already flown to Des Moines, Iowa to start my new job. And they sent my ring in the mail, like a registered mail or whatever. It was this big knuckle buster, ugly ass ring, but it was the proudest thing I've ever owned, right? And it was purely, and they even wrote a note going, mate, this championship was due to your speed work and stuff. And I was like, mate, if I go back to Australia and start a company, it's got to be about speed.
Yeah.
And everything overlays that. I'm not discounting strength. It's just that the purpose of the strength training is to make the athlete faster.
Faster, yeah.
Faster movements, faster speed, faster whatever you want to say. But every exercise has to have an exact purpose. Why is it in there otherwise? Like, don't do it. Like, why are we doing barbell bench press? Like, what's the point of that if it's not being used in the game, right?
I remember being a young coach in my early 20s, and I was privy to it. I'd done it at school doing a beep test. And through the UK, the beep test was always this. You've done it once pre-season and maybe once at the end of the season. The idea was you tried to score higher at the end of the season to prove that your fitness went up during the year. But then when I really got into elite level coaching and actually discovered the purpose of the beep test was actually not to actually test your score pre and post season. It's actually to maintain during the year and to do it 2 to 3 times a week for overall fitness. But also we met with a guy from Sweden, and he come in and worked in with the Premier League. And his whole ethos was, if you're an athlete, you need to do the beep test 3 to 4 times a week. He said, if you do a sport like football where running over 20 metres is very relevant, tennis, it's relevant, basketball, it's relevant. Now, but there was so many sports, the beep test is so effective. And his methodology was, it teaches acceleration from a standpoint and accelerating off, but also the biggest thing he was an advocate of was it teaches deceleration and putting your muscles and your joints and your bones under pressure and stress.
Yep.
And he said, if you constantly do the beep test 3-4 times a week, your body and your knees and your ankles are used to that strain. So then when you go into a game and it's competitive, you're not popping an ACL, you're not tearing a calf.
Oh.
And the research, I think it was about 30% when he done worked with teams, and he just done this one simple thing. It was 3 beep tests minimum a week with 4 ideally. And I think the injuries across the squad over the year reduced by 30%.
Kidding.
Just from doing a beep test. But also he would then make it really super relevant. So in football, he said there's no good doing a beep test on a hard surface in runners. You need to be in your football boots, on a grass pitch. Oh, and also with a ball at your feet.
Oh, right. So he did the beep test with the ball.
With the ball, yeah.
That's not bad.
So these are the new ways we were coming out. And I've done it with football teams in the past, youth teams, senior teams, and you get a lot of fight back from players. But if you actually explain the reasons why you're doing the beep test and the benefits, then you'll get buy-in. And I think that's where one of the coaches go wrong. Now, I know your job at acceleration goes way above and beyond a beep test. There's a lot more information, but it goes to show there's no excuses when you're a coach. Just to do something simple as a beep test a few times a week can make your team faster, stronger, decelerate better, and make them better overall.
I like that. It's a lot. I've done a lot of beep tests. Either implemented them, used them for testing. You use testing for lots of different reasons, and one of the reasons is draw a line in the sand. Test, retest, to see if someone gets fitter or whatever. But what I liked about that is very simple approach, and the exact reasons. That's the key. The exact point that you made was, what I like to say is that our coaches are specialists. So when we prescribe an exercise, that's no different from prescribing a drug as a doctor. So we're physicians. We're specifically specialists, and I used the word high performance manager. I would have been the first person in Australia to ever use it. I was a high performance manager of the Brisbane Bullets in probably 2003. I keyed the term, never even heard of it before, but that's what I used. And now the word high performance manager is used everywhere. Yeah. And the reason why is it has the word performance in there. It's really important to me. But I prescribe that because I had a lot of kickback from pro players and so forth. And because in college, it's no problem, especially in the 90s, like they just do whatever the heck you tell them to do, right? Yeah. But then when you come working with grown men, they're professionals, they're like giving kickback, going, hey, Stewie, why are we doing this? Well, all right, I'm going to give you the reason for everything. Yeah. And when I say you're running, that means you need to run. I'm not punishing you. I'm saying you need this dose of fitness because that will prepare you for the game better. Yeah. So I'm not here to punish you. You're here. Every specific repetition is for a purpose. Now, if you mess up and miss a line, the purpose of this is I'm giving you an extra one because you didn't have the mental fortitude to touch that line. If you miss, one person misses a line, that means you're mentally weak. You're not going to touch that line. So when the head coach or the football coach or the basketball coach tells you to do something and you're fatigued in a game, you're just not going to touch that line when he asked you to touch that line. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you in a circumstance now that you need to touch that line. So apart from that particular circumstance, which I think is really good for preseason, building teamwork and getting players to sort of buy in and so forth and make sure they touch the lines. But aside from that, that's the aspect that you said where you need to give a reason for everything. Players will go to the end of the earth for you if they know why they're doing it.
Yeah. And that was one of the big mistakes I see, and I've spoken openly about it in 2010. I went back to Europe to finish off my coaching badges and to spend a few years back in Europe. And it stuck out like a sore thumb. We've got 92 professional football teams in England, and you think at every club the level's going to be super high, because I wasn't happy with the level in Australia. But it also amazed me when I went back to the UK and England, there was a lot of clubs who were doing all the right things, but there was a lot of clubs who were not doing the right things as well. And it made me realise that like they didn't know how to explain to athletes and to the players why we're doing this. And I understood at a young age, in my early 30s, why it was so important to explain it to these adults that there's a reason why we're doing this, and that you get buy-in straight away. Yeah. And it was no surprise to me, all the successful coaches I worked in and around and the study visits I've done, there was no surprise. Like I went and done a study visit down at Tottenham Hotspur, and they had a coach there called Harry Redknapp. Yeah. And it was no surprise to me why Tottenham Hotspur was struggling. Because I asked on the day of doing the study visit, I asked for a copy of the session plan. And him and his assistant coach just laughed at me and went, what session plan? And I'm like, yeah, can I have it? And you could see there was no plan, no thought, a lot of guesswork. And they were struggling big time at that point. But then when you go and work around, like I was very, very fortunate to do a study visit with Rafa Benitez at Liverpool, a coach called Brendan Rodgers. I work for Carlo Ancelotti, who's now the head coach at Real Madrid. There's no surprise why these guys are successful, because they plan everything to the single letter, but also their players understand why they're doing what and when and what time, and there's complete buy-in from all the players. And I just didn't see any issues with any of them squads because they knew why they were doing certain things each day.
I think some coaches, they're just not that way wired. Like I'm a very structured person. So because I'm structured and that's my personality, then developing programs in advance and everything has to be structured is really good. And then I build in, because I know I'm not a very flexible person, I'll build flexibility into my program if I know that's necessary. The issue is if the head honcho is not a very organized, structured person, he doesn't want that structure. The better coaches are the ones that recognize that. They know that about their personality, so they allow their assistant coaches or assistant managers or whatever you want to call it in football, they allow them to create the structure around, they'll impart their vision about what they want from the training sessions or what they want in the game, and then the assistant then goes away and builds a structure. So you'll see variety of personalities be successful at a high level, but it's either the head coach does the structure or the assistant has to do the structure. Somebody has to do the structure, because if there isn't any, they're not going to be in that industry for that long, unless they're just exceptional with people. And sometimes they are successful, and that's what throws people off. Because they just have so much talent they can't lose, and they just manage talent well. So apart from that, generally you won't see them succeed. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, brilliant. Well, guys, we're about to go to our first break. That first 20 minutes went so quick. Watch the ad breaks, guys. Get yourselves a drink, get a cup of tea, coffee, and we'll be back with you at the Raymond Wood podcast in the next couple of minutes.
Would you one day like to be a professional football player? Would you like to be part of our pro player pathway? What is the pro player pathway? It's an opportunity for all Australian football players aged between 10 and 23 who want to join us to become the next professional football player. On the pro player pathway, you get to join me and my team free of charge to an event all around Australia. When you join me, we're going to teach you the secrets of football in Europe. And one day, maybe, you could be gracing the Champions League final. Guys, over the next 12 months, we're going to be coming around all the major cities of Australia. And when we come around all the major cities, we're going to be running our free events everywhere we go. So guys, what have you got to lose? Nothing. It's a free event. It's for boys and girls aged 10 to 23. And I'm going to teach you the secrets of becoming a top European football player. Oh, and one final thing. We're going to be giving away 20 scholarships to join me on this program of a lifetime.
Hi everyone, this is Raymond Wood. We're back for part 2 of this podcast with Stuart Briggs. Now, Stuart, we were just talking a little bit about your background and a little bit about Acceleration Australia. And we got a little bit lost, but it was a good loss down a rabbit hole about coaches and expectations and getting players. Just to draw it back in a little bit, so for our listeners, so obviously I know this, but the listeners won't, but you're based in Brisbane in Australia.
Yes.
And the majority of your work is in Brisbane, so you work with athletes in Brisbane. So we'll talk about that first, and then we'll talk about how players can work with you externally from Brisbane as well. So talk to us a little bit about the different sports you work with. Is there a particular sport you work most with? And then also I want to talk to you about work with referees as well in a few minutes, but we'll pull it back into the athletes. So who is it you're working with? Which of the codes you're predominantly working with as a mix?
Yeah, good question. Because we're based at basketball stadiums, the reason being is it's an indoor facility in Australia that you can have a dry surface. It's lights and all that sort of stuff. We can control the environment a bit better. We have a lot of basketball players. And we've been really well known for that because when I came back to Australia in the year 2000, I came from America, so basketball and America sort of hand in hand. So yeah, we built up a really good following in basketball, probably about 45% basketball players, around about 35% football players. So a lot of football. And actually, when Australia went to a phase where they didn't believe in doing anything without the ball at any training sessions, that actually increased the number of people that came to our centres because they needed to get faster and they weren't getting it at the football clubs. So football is really, really big for us. Cricket is growing extensively. In the last 5 years, we didn't have many cricketers prior to that. Have had a lot of exposure to AFL, all the combative sports, AFL, rugby union, rugby league. And then we've had a really big following in swimming. We've had a lot of success, gold medal Olympians in swimming and so forth. So because swimming and rowing and sports that are very high force production type sports really suit strength conditioning coaches or performance training, because if we make them stronger, they swim faster. Yeah. And if we do it well, then, I train a Singaporean swimmer to this day. He's a Paralympian, Wei Sung, and I've been training him for about 5 or 6 years now. And I do it online and that sort of stuff. So we still have swimmers and we do have online athletes, but yeah, face-to-face, that's the sort of breakdown. And then pretty much every sport. We've even had parkour athletes, circus athletes, that sort of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I know, especially in football in the 80s and 90s, it was very old school style coaching. There was a lot of running. Like you go into pre-season, they'd be going on like 5K runs, 10K runs. And we discovered in the UK and England through the big project I worked on that there wasn't enough touches of the ball. And I found that then we went really the opposite. We went really heavy with the amount of touches on the ball, and all the other stuff started to get forgotten about. But I think it's interesting. I think it's drawn into a good balance now. In 2024, we're seeing that people understand that. I think it's the 80-20 rule. You need 80% of your time where you're learning all the technical stuff, you're touching the ball. That's so important to your game. But that 20% is so important as well. That 2 to 3 hours a week working on things like speed, acceleration. When we talk about your programs you run in Brisbane, but if someone wants to work with Acceleration Australia, whether it be in the US or the UK, do you guys have any like online platforms, online programs? How does that work?
Great question. So I'm from country Queensland. So I'm from about 5.5 hours drive from here on a cattle property. I went to boarding school in Rockhampton. And so when I went to university in Lismore, New South Wales, I went on exchange to the US. And all that time, I went to America to learn from the Americans. So about things that they did with athletes to come back to Australia. And the whole time, my vision was to start Acceleration Australia. I didn't know the name of it back in those days, but I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I wanted to work with athletes from the base of the pyramid all the way to the top. And one of those things I wanted to do was help country people. So I developed an online program that I started building about 22 years ago. I was the first one in the world to build it on the cloud. We've got over 2,000 exercises, all videoed and everything else. And we've written probably over 500,000 online programs in the last 16 years. We went completely, all of our sessions are run on iPads and everything at our centres, so we went completely paperless at least 12 years ago. And the purpose behind that is collecting a lot of data, and then also prescription, making sure it's very precise, and so everyone knows what's going on. The athlete can see the videos, the coaches know which exercise they are and everything else. So online is where we live, and that's we've been building that for a long time. So we've been able to build very detailed programs. So we can build a very detailed program for someone in England, the same as what they'd get in Australia. And they can see the detail, they can see the drill, and they can incorporate the drill.
Fantastic.
But with tech these days, it's getting even better, mate. Like the way in which we can get feedback from the athlete and everything is improving by literally every 2 weeks from what I know in AI. AI is literally changing every 2 weeks. So we'll be able to really improve. Our online training is great, but it's just going to get better by every 2 weeks.
So let's say you're an athlete and you live in a remote part of, say, the USA, and you want to be part of Acceleration Australia. What do the costs look like for an online program at Acceleration? Is it like $100 a month? Is it $1,000 a month? What would the basic online program look like?
Yeah, so for a customized program, it's around about $140 Australian. So I suppose about $100 US. Yeah,
a month.
Yes,
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So just a little over $1,000 a year. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because that's one of the things that we've been speaking about off air, and we're hopefully going to integrate. And for all of our listeners and current Pro Player Pathway players, we are going to probably add in an 8th pillar, which will be Acceleration Australia.
Amazing.
We're super excited to get you guys involved. It's just going to add again another flavour and an extra pillar for our players to be even more successful.
Oh, yeah.
We talk about with our players, we've got a lot of the stats and data from the UK and Europe. And let's say, as an example, one of the key things we work on is technical advancements. And in Europe and the UK, the players train to get to 80% or above as a top goal. And that means if they get 80% or above, that target's hit. What we do on our program, we've decided to set it to 85% or above. So we know when we send our players across, whether our players are in Australia or the USA, we know when they go to the UK and Europe for trials, they've got a better chance of making it because they're just slightly above the European kids. So again, to be able to add in something like Acceleration Australia, and as I said, I've seen it firsthand with my daughter, the changes it makes, being able to be half a yard quicker. In football, we talk about being half a yard quicker there, but I also think it all interlinks, and I think being half a yard quicker physically, it's a win-win.
Yeah, it's great. I'm actually interviewing a gentleman this afternoon. His name's Aaron Whitefield, and he's a baseball player, been in Major League Baseball, and he's in minor leagues right now, but should get back into major leagues. He hasn't trained with us for 4 years, and he said he's been training in America for 4 years, and he came back and he just told me yesterday, he's like, Stu, like, you guys are way ahead of every American's program that I've been in for the last 4 years. And the reason why I know that is I go back to America every couple of years and check out centres, and we converse with UK-based companies as well. So we know what's going on all the time, particularly in the area of speed. And the gains he's had is remarkable. It's on his work as well, but very much he really praised our coaches, but our programming, and it really reinforced to me how important it is. And America, Australia, UK, anything, we are top class. Like, I'm not talking Australian class, I'm talking world class, and we built it that way. And it's sometimes it just takes takes 20 years to become famous, and it takes 20 years to
get there.
It takes a long time.
It's like with anything. We were speaking about this to a few ex-colleagues on a Zoom call a few nights ago, and it was like 1 a.m. in the morning, And it was funny, we're all of a similar age, and we're now saying that we thought when we were in our 20s, we were good coaches, and we thought we were amazing when we were 30, but it's when you get into your 40s and 50s, you realise now I've actually starting to get there, but I still haven't arrived, but you just realise that you are constantly learning and evolving. But I think it's once you've got 20, 25 years under your belt, you feel really confident and you know what you're talking about. And one of the things I've discovered over the past year or two, with all due respect, is that you speak to a lot of younger people or people who've been in certain codes. It actually blows my mind. They don't know a lot. They don't know a lot. And it's like, I've got people coming out to me, reaching out to me from the swimming world. I've got people reaching out to me from netball, from basketball, saying that your methodologies and what you're implying in Pro Player Pathway, would love to learn more for these different sports and codes. And I think it's a testament as well to athletes out there that you're not going to turn into a pro overnight. It's hard work. It's going to take you 10, 12 years to get there. And when you think you've arrived, you haven't arrived. You've still got another 10, 15 years of a career ahead of you. And that's one of the big things we're looking at. Now, talking about refs, now, it was really interesting. They really changed the game of football in 2010-11 in the UK and in the Premier League and La Liga in Spain. But there was a problem that was created. As these athletes got fitter, faster, stronger and got better, we realised the referees were struggling.
Yes.
And a lot of the referees were overweight, they couldn't keep up, and then they started to realise that, oh damn, we're making a lot of mistakes, the refs are missing a lot in the game. We need to actually get them fitter, faster, stronger. And it was so interesting that you said to me, oh yeah, like one of our biggest training programs was the referees. So can you tell us which referees you work with, what sport it is, what code it is, and do they do the same program as the athletes, or is it slightly tailored different?
Yeah, quite really good question. In football, we've been actually quite famous. So Chris Beath is one of our most storied referees in Australia, and he went to the World Cup, in fact. And he was an athlete of ours for over a decade. Yeah. And he would literally fly back from Canberra and train with us, and we've done so much training with Chris Beath. There were also some assistant referees that Nathan's last name escapes me at this moment. He just retired the other day, actually. It was his last game. Wish I knew that. But we went through the whole analysis of the assistant referees in particular, because speed is so important for them to get the offside correct, and they have to react, and they're starting from a side start position. All this sort of stuff. It's about vision and sprinting as well. So refereeing is quite different. I really got stuck into the basketball side of things. So we're in with Scott Butler's the head of referees for the NBL, and we've been with them for about 6 years, and we've been going through this evolution where we've been bolting on new services or whatever. So now they come in, all 25 referees from around Australia fly into Brisbane once a year to get tested by our coaches. They do a full dietary analysis and get a full diet and everything, and they also get a physio. And from all that, then we've built a program that they do year round for the rest of the year, and it's to the stage where in the early parts of the season, the commentators were going, "Holy smokes! Look at that referee! He looks jacked. Like the referees look amazing." Then we've been doing quite a bit of speed work in the last year or so. So we started changing the look of them a few years ago, but now they're eating much better, even better now with the dietitians. And now they're getting faster. So now line of sight, they're not guessing anymore, which was the issue.
Keeping up with the play.
Yeah, they're keeping up with the play. You imagine as a referee in the NBA, you're playing against LeBron James or some other guy is just flying. You know, you got to get right angle, and if you don't get the call right, you're in trouble, mate. Like you're getting assessed all the time. Those
you're not going to be reffing any more games.
No, and the fitness of guys like a Chris Beath in the middle there is crazy. But they've got to also have pace, and so, but they've got to make decisions, like lots and lots of decisions. On the fly. So, yeah, I'm really proud of our referee. In fact, I think 3 of our referees have all been athletes of the year at Acceleration since 2007. We've been doing Athlete of the Year since 2007, so I haven't done it for 20 years yet, and 3 out of the 16 years or whatever have been football referees. Jackie Melksham, who's now goes by a different last name, but Jackie was in a referee for the Women's World Cup in Germany, and we've actually got an aerial photograph from a blimp or whatever of her, and you can see the yellow speck. She sent it to us, a framed photograph of her game in Germany. Amazing. And then Jackie Melksham, Chris Beath, and the third is Rebecca Durkow, I think is her name, and she's a football referee as well. So 3 football referees.
Wow.
Football refereeing is super important. The game doesn't evolve if the referees don't evolve.
Yeah, it's fast. I can remember in the 90s and watching English football, and it was always your stereotypical small, overweight, baldy guy in his 50s, 60s, and you think, wow, and you see it now. But I remember in the 90s, I think at the time, the Serie A was the biggest football league at the time, which was the Italian league. And their referees were like slim, fit, strong. And I think a lot of it was down to like diet and stuff and that and the lifestyle. But I remember it was Pierre Chiellini, I think his name was. And he was like the top referee at the time. And he's now the head of the referees for FIFA. Oh. And it's now to see where it's gone now with referees and linesmen's. And even though we've got VAR in football now, like we've seen it this morning, the refs have got to keep up. And it's like it's super, super important. But it's funny now to think, like 20 years ago, if you would have said refs and linesmen are going to be considered as athletes as well, you'd be like, nah, no way, they're not going to be athletes. Well, they have to be. If they want to keep up with athletes, they've got to be. Brilliant, mate. Well, we're going to go to our final ad break. So a big thank you for everyone who's listening. Go and get yourselves a drink if you need a quick toilet break. And we'll be back with you for the final part with me and Stuart on the Raymond Wood podcast.
Hey everyone, we are coming around every major city in Australia over the next 12 months. We have got free objective football testing going on, guys. It's for boys and girls aged 10 all the way through to 18 years of age. The objective testing is quite simple. We'll put you through our 6 tests and it'll give you your results, physical, technical and tactical. And also, we're going to choose 16 winners to join us on an all expenses paid trip to Europe in 2024 and also 2025. Guys, what have you got to lose? Nothing. It's free to sign up. You get free objective testing and you'll get a free feedback, and maybe you'll be joining me at the Santiago Bernabeu in 2024 or 25.
Hi everyone, it's Raymond Wood at the Raymond Wood podcast. We're here for our final section with Stuart Briggs. Now, Stu, we were just talking a little bit about referees and how that's evolved, and they probably consider that, well, they are athletes now as well because they've got to keep up with the game. Moving on with Acceleration Australia, and for yourself, what's the rest of the year look like? Obviously, we spoke about you coming in and being one of our pillars for our programme, but also, is there any plans overseas and anything like what's going on?
What's happening in Acceleration is we're going heavy into AI. We've been going that way for a few years, but what that means is we're incorporating an Australian company called ViewMotion, and basically it allows athletes from anywhere in the world basically to videotape their run, either 10 metres or 20 metres, and it breaks down the analysis of the run. From that run, that information then goes into our software, and we're able to create a program based off that analysis.
Wow.
And it's just game changer. It literally will tell you the speed of your first step. So if you want to know your first step quickness, then you'll actually be able to find out.
It's funny that because we talk about, like, if you can discover what someone's complaints or problems are and you can fix a complaint for them, it's a winner. Now, one of the big complaints we always used to get was, but you're only in Brisbane. When can you come to Rockhampton? When can you come to Perth? When can you come to Toronto? I think something like that's phenomenal. Like the fact that someone could record, they could live in Canada, they could record themselves, send a video to you, and you can build them a program based off that and give them all your expertise across the internet without actually physically having to see them.
Yeah, I think actually the key is, because I've got so many staff that actually are building quite a lot of base of experience, they need to have quite a bit of experience of face-to-face coaching so that way they can be a great mentor online. Yeah. So being able to mentor someone through their workout, assess them, someone's watching them, someone's helping them, and I think that's key. That's what I'm going to be folding over. That's my major focus for this year. It's been my focus for 20-something years, but this, in terms of building all the pillars to be able to make that happen, like jumping on your pillars thing. But look, the long story short is I want to make a difference. That's why I built Acceleration. I started Acceleration. I wanted to help at least 1 million athletes before I retire, and I'm 50, so I got some work to do. Yeah.
It's funny, like I've just been on a retreat to Bali, and I met some of the most amazing people on that retreat in Bali, but it was all around discovering your purpose. And if you didn't have your purpose or not quite know what your purpose was, and after walking away, I always knew what my purpose was. I've always been driven to help athletes I was never good enough at 16, 17 to make it as a professional football player. That would have been my dream. And that's what I don't want is kids to get to 16 and 17 and actually not realise that if their mum and dad had the right information when they were 9, 10, 11 and 12, they could have turned into a professional athlete and a professional football player. So that's my purpose, is to get like yourself to as many people as possible and to help as many people. And we're working on many projects over the next couple of years. But it's good when you lead with that purpose, because you see there's a lot of people who do lead with a really good purpose, and they're the ones, there's no surprises, are super successful in life as well.
Look, I'm really big on empowering people. I want to help people. I want to help the parents. I want to help the parents. They're the first high-performance manager of their children, before they ever become an elite athlete. People talk about it all the time. You've got to be that person before you're that person.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a professional athlete, you need to have the mindset of a professional athlete before you become a professional athlete. And for the parents, like, they need the tools. And so what I want to be is a resource to be able to help those parents. I love being able to help my young coaches and some of them as they go through their career, mentor them. I mentor my coaches even after they leave Acceleration, and they look back at me and so forth and they go, wow, I learned so much from that, Stu, that was so good, all that sort of stuff. So even if it's not within Acceleration, I just want to be able to help people. It's really, really important to me. And else do you do it?
Yeah, why else are we here? Yeah. It's a good feeling. That's one of the big things I think that goes missed, is that parents are, you've just hit the nail on the head, they're the most important people in a child's life, because if they've got the knowledge and the education and to help them in those first couple of steps, and that's one of the reasons why we put our 7 pillars together. Why should you have to wait until you're 14 or 15 to learn this stuff and start doing it? Because you're already starting from behind the start line, and everyone's got a head start on you, especially the athletes who are already in the system. And that's the reason why we built the Professional Player Pathway. It's the reason why I've wrote the autobiography, The Professional Player Pathway, because I want to share that message with everyone, that you can get started the way I done with my daughter. I'm not a tennis coach. I've got no tennis background. I never played tennis, but she's 15 years of age playing pro tennis globally. And that's because I knew these methodologies. I had the absolute belief that knowing these 6 or 7 pillars would help her. And it even more so helps in my area, which is football, because that's my game. That's the game I've lived and breathed my whole life. 44 years I've learned football inside out, and it's scary to think that I get so excited and I get upset as well. I'll have a tear or two, because it's like, I know if someone comes on our program and follows it to the letter, or reads my book and follows it to the letter, their chances of their child making as an athlete increases by 1,000%.
Yep.
And some people don't want to believe it, but it's that simple. Just follow it and follow the pathway.
It sounds simple, but you've got to be able to do it, right?
Yeah, it's the hard work and the consistency.
And that's why I think it's important to be in programs like yours, because it's not easy to stick to it. I think you need to have a mentor. You need to have these people
accountable.
In place. You need to be accountable. And it just gives you, I had a massive chat to a parent last night. Both the children played basketball. One of them, they were just nowhere near, and they could hardly run and chew gum at the same time, she said to me. And then basically they're making state programs and so forth right now.
Yeah.
And she goes, I'm absolutely blown away by the results. And I said, yeah, that's great, but that's just the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, it's just the start.
Yeah.
So you're doing a lot of work with the AI, and you're starting to, is that integrated, or is it still being built as we speak? Or?
Yeah, so basically what we're looking to do is they'll initially sit outside of Accelaware, the software, and then we build it in. So we use bridges like APIs, or we'll actually incorporate it in. And the main concept is just getting as much feedback as possible all the time, and feedback and accountability. And because we know our program works, that's all we're going to do is just make sure the person does it, and they can ask questions and so forth and get that done. If they do the workouts, it works. We know that. It's been proven. So
it's funny you say that, and it's a really important one I want to finish on for both of us, that you've got to do the work and you've got to follow through, and we've said that. So I've had a parent contact us in the office a few weeks ago, and he's like, we've been on the program for 3 months, and I'm like, okay, so just remember, it's a 4-year program. It's going to take a few years to see big gains and successes, but anyway. And he said, but I just don't know what we're paying for. This is rubbish. And I'm like, okay, well, let's have a look. So we go on the online system. We've given them the secret recipe to bake the cake. All the tutorials are on there, all the videos are on there, all the contact points. There's monthly Zoom meetings. We've done the intolerance test and the nutrition, DNA testing. We've done the match analysis. We've built the objectives for them to follow. We go on the system, and they haven't done one objective on the system. And we're like, so guys, so this is the problem. You're not doing your objective, but you haven't shown us how to do it. So we have, it's on your app, and we've told you if you're struggling to use the app, call us and we'll help you, guide you on the app how to do it. By the end of the call, we then get the apology, and it's like, and I think people just assume, and unfortunately, I don't think it's that particular parent's fault. I think it's the decade or the year we're in at the moment, where everyone wants everything fast and quick. They want to jump on Uber Eats and get food delivered in 10 minutes. They want to get an Uber to the door. I think they expect by paying a set amount of money, something's going to happen and it's going to be done overnight for them. I think there's a realization that you can have the secret recipe, but if you're not going to put the ingredients in and you're not going to work at it and bake that cake, it's not going to turn into a cake. And that's what I'm trying to say to parents, is that, like, you need to understand. I think, unfortunately, the generation we're in, they expect everything to be done for them. And I think that's even embedded in some of the parents out there.
I think the main thing is, what I'd like to say to people is, it's actually good that it's hard.
Yeah.
Because if you're willing to go through the hard and put the time in, that means you're going to beat out 99% of the people.
Yeah.
And there are some people, and football's a big example of that. We have a lot of football players that are coming in at 8, 9 or 10 years of age because the parents know their child needs to get faster and their kid runs funny or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're starting early, which means that they're building in good habits with their running. And even if they only train with us for a short period of time and then go away, they're going to hold that running form, and that child will run well for the rest of their lives, unless they have an injury or something weird happens. But yeah, that essentially, some people are understanding this is a long journey and we're going to start early, you know. And this isn't overtraining. This is like once a week for half an hour. You know, they're working on running form or something. Yeah. But some people do get it, and I think you'll get more and more of that. I actually think it'll go the other way. I think some people will expect things to be quick, and I think if we build a culture where, hey, this is a long play, you got to follow this through, and we want it to be hard. I like that in life. I was like, oh, this is hard. Oh, that means not everyone's going to be able to do this. I'm going to do something hard. That means it's, you know, not going to be common.
I said that, and I said that to my daughter, and it was hard for her at the time. She was 9 and 10.
Yep.
And I said, especially in females in sports, I said, if you're still playing tennis competitively at 16, 17, I said, you will make it as a professional tennis player, because the amount of drop off, the amount of people who won't put the effort in, won't put the work in. A lot of people, unfortunately, I believe, just live in fear. They don't want to go outside the boundaries, and that's what we're trying to do. It's that cultural change. We're trying to advise people that, look, guys, if you just follow it and stick to it, I know it seems a lot thinking of a 4 or a 5 year plan, but just do one day at a time. And there's always going to be challenges. And a quick example, we were in Wollongong at the weekend. We'd done an event. We'd done 3 objective tests, and the event cost us nearly 20k to put on. Wow. We covered it. We'd done an event inside for 2.5 hours, cost us nearly 50 grand, right? And we're teaching them the secrets of the Premier League, the secrets of football, the secrets how to develop your player. I've then give like pretty much a day of my time dealing and speaking with all these parents and educating them, upskilling them. The biggest complaints they give me was that the FFA, everything costs too much money, there's no clear pathway, and they just feel like they feel let down by the system. So we've gone in and done 2 free events for them, saving them money, so they're not having to pay anything. We've taught them the pathway, we've shown them the pathway, and we've educated them the pathway. I've got one dad complaining to me because he can't get any time with me, and I'm like, you've just had me all day. I said, how many notes? We give everyone a pen and pad at our cost. How many notes have you took? He hadn't took any notes on his pad. Then he sent an email into the office to say how good it was getting all his stuff for free. But then he was highly disappointed he didn't get to spend more time at the end of the day, and he thinks it's something we need to fix. And I'm like,
wow.
Are you actually missing the whole point of what we've just done for you? And that, again, that's that cultural change. Like, people don't realise what they're saying, and when you give them the fix, some of them still don't even want to see it, what you've given to them. And I think there's some people you're not going to convince and you're not going to win over. But I think the message I want to finish on for that is for me and you and our athletes who we work with, is that trust in us. If you follow the system and see it through, you will be super successful in anything you do in life, whether it's sports, whether it's outside the sports. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. That's why I love acceleration. That's what we've been able to do for people, regardless of whether they become a professional athlete or they become an Olympian or they just make their local team. They just want to hit their goals or whatever. But it's just, this is what I talked to the mother about. I said, I've had girls where they've torn their ACL or whatever before they came to acceleration. They're coming in, and I go, what, you know, there's purpose behind things. You know, you need to get through this. This isn't the worst thing that's going to happen to you for all your life. So, you know, what are you going to do? Are you going to give up, or are you going to work hard? And this is a lifetime lesson. Same thing with lifting weights or running or anything. It's a project. It's something. The professional pathway for yourself, or whatever, that is a fantastic program. And if they can follow that program and go through it, they're going to be successful regardless of what the end result
100%.
is. Because once they've been through that whole process, anything in life, they're going to go, mate, I've been through that, I can do that.
Yeah.
You know, I can become an engineer, I can become a doctor, I can do whatever I want to do because I know what it's like to go through a program.
Yeah.
And same thing with acceleration. People train with us for years. It's super common that people come away, they're fit, they're strong, they stay fit and strong. You know, like I'm not seeing them years later where they're overweight or unhappy or whatever. A lot of them become very successful in their own right, and it's fantastic. And I think that's the way going forward at all times. It's like, what are we doing here? This isn't just, we are trying to specifically nail a specific goal, and it's very likely that's going to occur. But in the end of it, even if you do get that, that's great. What's next? You know, it's a lifetime thing. You know.
Yeah, it's forming good habits, isn't it?
Yeah.
I speak to the parents in the room quite open. I've met David Goggins before.
Oh, have you?
And I'm good friends with David,
so
and I'm going on tour with him in November.
Wow.
And I said, like, he taught me the lesson that anything's possible. Like, I went from being 135 kilos, not fit, to all of a sudden in 2021, I think it was after I met him, I'm running 10K a week after listening to his audiobook. Before I'd even met him, but just listening to his audiobook. Then I'm running 40K a week. Then I'm running 80K a week. Then I'm running 90K a week training. Then I'm doing half marathons. Then I'm doing marathons. And then I do ultra marathons, and I run a 65K, and I literally stop for a pee once in, I think it was like 6-7 hours it took me to do the 65K. And the message I get to parents is like, you need to put yourself through these hard challenges because you understand what your kids go through, but also it sets you up for life.
Yep.
Like, just from going through that running journey with David Goggins on an audiobook, and I probably listened to the audiobook 100 times over when I was running, but the lessons and the messages, when you constantly put them through your brain, you're just going to be so much more successful in life. And I'm not just talking financially, I'm talking health, wealth, friendships, community, helping people.
Everything, man.
And it's like, as a parent, and I say to my parents in the room when we run our free events, get out running. It's the best thing you can do. You're going to benefit, your kids are going to benefit, and everyone benefits. And when we leave this planet, we leave it in a slightly better place than when we first come in. I think that's a good place to be.
I love it. I just love being around high-performing people. I love positivity, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I love making a difference to athletes, making a difference to coaches, careers, and so forth. Being around positive, moving forward people that have these different experiences, that you're different to me. You know, I love that. I love people being different from me, and I love learning from different people. And I think that's what people should be seeking. They want people that are open-minded, that are seeking this stuff. And I think that's what everyone should want. And I suppose if they don't want to do it, then they don't have to do it.
They don't have to do it. Stuart, we could go on for another 4 hours, I think, but we're going to have to leave it there. Yeah. But we will try and revisit this maybe in 12 months' time to see where you're at. Hopefully, we've fully integrated acceleration into one of our new pillars. Yeah, cool. Excited to do that. So a big thank you from me at the Rainwood Podcast, and thank you to Stuart for joining us. Now, our next 2 podcasts we're going to do, I'm super excited because it's that time of year. We've worked out and we've discovered it's Borussia Dortmund versus Real Madrid at Wembley on the 1st of June. We're going to be doing a lot of content, a lot of videos for all our listeners over that week, that period. We're going to be in Liverpool, Manchester, then down in London, and we're going to be coming live from the biggest game of football on the planet. Now, I always get thrown at me, no, the World Cup final's the biggest game in world football. I'm like, it's not. The Champions League final has twice as many followers and it's watched on TV by twice as many people than a World Cup final. So for me, the Champions League final is the biggest game in world football. We're super excited. For everyone that knows, I did used to work for Carlo Ancelotti at PSG. I'm excited to see Real Madrid there again. I would have liked to have seen Liverpool there, but they weren't even in the Champions League this year. I'm super excited for one of the athletes that not only I was a pleasure in meeting and working a little bit with, and my good colleague did, but Jude Bellingham. He's 20 years of age. He's probably the biggest player on the planet. He come through the project that I worked on, and he's probably, hopefully, he's going to be one of the youngest players ever to win the Champions League final at the age of 20. And that is a testament, not because he was born talented, because he followed a programme, he followed the pathway that we set for him, and he's now one of the biggest and greatest players. So we're super excited. We'll see you live from the Champions League final. And a big thank you from me. Namaste and peace.
Hi everyone, this is Raymond Wood from the Raymond Wood podcast. We are coming live from sunny England, from London. It's the day of the Champions League final, the 1st of June 2024. We're super excited to be here to watch Borussia Dortmund versus Real Madrid. Now, I've been doing a heap of interviews and different content videos over the past couple of days, and we're super excited to bring to you from Brisbane in Australia. We've got Ben Ainsworth and Nikki Ainsworth. They're the parents of one of the players who's been with us on the programme for a couple of years now, Charlotte Ainsworth. How are you, Nikki? How are you, Ben?
Hey, good, Ray. How are you?
Good day. Very good. Good to see you guys. Thank you for joining us. Now, we wanted to bring you on just to talk a little bit about, from a parent's perspective, when you've got a son or daughter who's on the professional player pathway. But before we get into the interview, guys, we just want to talk about a little bit how this probably never nearly came about, because originally, Ben, when I first got introduced to you and Charlotte, you actually couldn't join us on the programme. Well, you thought you couldn't join us because you were actually due to head back to the UK this year. You were telling us a couple of years ago you were planning on coming back for work and personal reasons, for family reasons. But obviously, when I had a chat with you and explained that this is a remotely based programme, it doesn't matter where you are, where you live, you can be on the programme. It did take me a couple of months to convince you of that, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, because this has been sort of like a 3-year sort of journey for us. We're always wanting to go back to the UK to reconnect with family and that. But we just weren't sure when we met you how the program would work and how it would benefit Charlotte, knowing that we were going back to the UK and that your program was sort of set up in Australia. So we weren't sure how it was going to work. So yeah,
because
it's been one of the.
Oh, sorry, Ray. As you know, I am British and the kids are British, so we've wanted them to reconnect with my side of the family over there. So it's kind of been a 2-3-year plan, and then you came into our world and obviously know Charlotte and her football and wanted to help us with that, and so being able to do the plan here and then take that with us is just going to be amazing to do that remotely. Yeah,
it was one of the things I felt like banging Ben's head against the wall sometimes, because I was like, your wife's British, your kids are British, they've got passports, and I know you're going back for family reasons, and I know you're looking to go back for work, but trust me, this programme works no matter where you are on the planet. So I'm so happy you did eventually join us on the programme. Now, from a mum and dad's perspective, I'll probably ask this one to Nikki first, being the mum. How have you found it's helped Charlotte over the past couple of years with the football? What's the one big thing for you?
Yeah, I think more so much not only her school factor side of things and, with having the GPS tracking and honing in on the statistic side of football, being celebrate more on the football side of things. But for me, her mental game has improved a lot, and having, that not only the resilience, but seeing where she can achieve with other academies in England as well, because all the statistics are on there with her GPS tracking. So you can do well here. I know you do well, but to see all the stats and compare and gauge where you're at is good. And also just the experience that you give her, that 1% to 5% of extra, information or experience that you've had that teach her other things on the field to help improve her game has just been fantastic as well. But we'll go more into the football. That's just, for me, I think her mental game has improved a lot, and having all those stats to go along with it and compare to not only people in Australia, but like you said, academies in England or around the world, and just gauge where you're at. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. It's such good to have that sort of different point of opinion, because I know mums and dads and families don't always think the same, and it's good that you've got those different opinions, and it's good that, you know, it's evident to us when we first discovered Charlotte how well-rounded she is, and I think it's thanks and it's a testament, because I know, having two daughters as well, there's a lot of hard work that goes into these kids, and we dote on them, and we just want to give them an opportunity. And I just want to say on camera as well, like, how super proud I am of you guys as well, because I know what you two have gone through over the past couple of years, and more so Ben as well. Like, you know, the stuff that you go to on a daily basis, just trying to support your kids in a dream, and it's a testament to you, Nikki and Ben, and I'm so proud of what you have done with it.
Thanks, Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Ben, so what's your opinion? Like, what's the one big thing that you've seen? And I know, Ben, you're not just a parent, but I know you're also a coach as well. Like, what's been the one big thing for you, for maybe any other parents who are considering joining the Pro Player Pathway? What's the one key thing that you've seen that's benefited?
Well, touching on what Nikki said, like, the GPS tracking's been really good. Just to see, you know, I suppose the comparison overseas is the main thing, but she obviously loves wearing the GPS tracker, and she gets a lot of joy out of seeing how she goes from session to session, especially in games. That's obviously tracking distances, how many Ks she runs in a game, and then, you know, she's able to say to me, "Oh, Dad, look, I ran X amount of Ks this in this match," and then you just see the improvement. But it's got her in a better mindset too on how to look at the game. Like, before we were on your program, obviously we're playing for a club, and they don't go to the meticulous detail that you do. Things like healthy eating, looking after your body, recovery after you've done a heavy session, making sure that we're even doing recovery, running type work so she's able to get the miles in her legs, but also able to recover those muscles after, you know, having a tough session or a long game. It's just the meticulous detail that go within the program. Like, you've talked to us about the 7 pillars that you have, and obviously match analysis is one of those things in that program as well, which I've found really helpful, because as a coach I can look at it from the other side of the fence as well as a parent, and you can sort of look at where her game is going, which is going in a really good direction. But there's things that I picked up in those match analyses that I didn't really think of, but when I go looking back at the footage, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And like some of them sort of semi-major things, and then other things are just like little things we just need to change and tinker, tweak. And it just made a huge difference to her overall performance. So
that's amazing. It's so good to have those two different perspectives from both you and Nikki. Now, Nikki, just because a lot of people will be interested in this, but obviously when I did speak to Ben, when I first met Ben a couple of years ago, and he explained that he didn't want to join the program because you had plans to go back for family reasons back home, because you're originally from the UK and you were looking at potentially going back for work. But can you tell all of our listeners and followers where originally you are from in the UK?
So I'm from Birkenhead. So anyone that doesn't know where that is, Liverpool, Mersey River, Birkenhead.
So I was like super secretly excited when I found that out when I first met you, and obviously I first met Charlotte and I seen her running around in an Everton jersey, and I'm like, no.
That was from my uncle. My uncle said that, the one Evertonian in the family.
Because obviously we do have a lot of good contacts in the game in the UK, but also around Europe as well. But I was super pleased to discover that when I found out from Ben many years ago that the plan was 2024 to head back to the UK, but also to be in and around the Liverpool area. It made me feel super excited, thinking that maybe one day we could help you open up an opportunity, whether it was at Tranmere Rovers or Everton or Liverpool. So it really, really pleased me. Now, Ben, obviously you are Australian, and obviously you're going back to be with your wife who's from the UK, and the kids have got British passports. Are you excited to go and live in the UK?
Yeah, I am. I'm really excited. It's going to be a great journey for our family. Just a new experience. Obviously, I've met a few of Nikki's family, but I'll be able to meet all of them. It's just going to be a great experience, and I've been a football supporter, fan, player.
Before you met me.
Before I met Nikki, and obviously the home of football. It's going to be good to immerse myself, go to a few games, and obviously just get to know Nikki's heritage really, and the kids are really excited about it as well. So.
Now, I know this growing up in Liverpool, where it's football crazy. Nikki knows it because she's from there as well. And I think you get it as well, Ben. But this is one of the tricky ones that can be quite controversial sometimes. But I say to a lot of families that, like, if you really aspire for your son or daughter to make it as a football player, there comes a point in time where, for me, you've got to move to Europe. Because if I had a son or daughter who was playing rugby league and you were to ask me where's the best place for them to live and play, I would say Australia, 100%, without a doubt. But if you're playing football, for me, whether you've got a son or daughter, I would definitely say you need them to be in Europe, in Spain, in England. We're just very, very fortunate. I think you guys feel privileged and lucky, Ben, the fact that you're already planning to head back for family reasons and for work, that Charlotte now actually gets to finish her little last bit of development, playing and training in England. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, we are. She loves playing football, and we just want what's best for her. And I just think the development that she'll get in a country that lives and breathes and immerses themselves in football, it would just benefit her. Yeah.
What's one of the things, Nikki, just to finish off, we've got a few minutes to go, but what's one of the things that you're looking forward to for Charlotte in her developments in her football in England, whether she goes on and plays for Liverpool, Everton, whoever she goes on and plays for when she's older? What's the one big thing that you wish for her?
Oh, look, and purely speaking from a mother's perspective, because I'm not as football mad as you lot are, but I think for me, just to, she always gives 100%, if not more, in all that she does. And just for her to be happy and do what she loves and, give it a red hot crack. And I think she'll succeed in anything that she does because she's always had a good head on her shoulders and she works hard. And I think if she makes it, fantastic. If she doesn't, I think she's still going to be around in football in some capacity because she lives and breathes it and it's her passion. Yeah.
I've told her 100% if she doesn't make it as a pro footballer when she's older, she's got a job with me at Euro Football Star.
That's a deal.
So Ben, as a dad, who I know I do it as well, we dote on our daughters and we'll do anything for them. What's the one thing that you really wish for Charlotte in the next couple of years?
I suppose coming over to England, I think some of the differences between the English game and the Australian game is like physicality. And I think the thing I'd like to see in her is obviously work out how to combat that and just work really hard because but she's got a great base. But I just think being in such a great environment in the UK, I just think she's going to go from strength to strength with playing against good players, whatever league she plays in, and also just the coaching I think is going to be first class, and I just think it's going to take her game to the next level, whichever level she plays at.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think I shared this with you guys on the phone a couple of years ago when I went back to the UK, and I hadn't seen the girls and the women's game in England for probably 5 or 6 years because of COVID and everything that went on. And for someone who coached in the WSL, and I coached Leicester City's women's team for the season going back over 10 years ago, to see the level it's at now, I've just been blown away. I just cannot believe where the girls and the women's game's gone, and I'm so excited for Charlotte to be lucky the fact that, one, she is British and she's got a passport, she's going back for family reasons, and you guys are in a fortunate position to be able to do that. But also for it to be able to go and live and breathe and just to finish off that development. And wherever Charlotte ends up, I'm convinced she's going to be a success in football. I think she's going to be a success as a player. And I think, to be honest, I think Charlotte's got a bigger picture in this. I think she's going to do something even bigger than playing when she's older. And if I've got it my way, she'll be heavily involved with us, helping us promote the women's game and the girls' game and making people realise that anything's possible with hard work.
Absolutely. She's a pretty special kid, even off the football pitch.
She is. I've been very, very fortunate to work closely with you guys and to see the effort that you guys put in. And I'm very blessed myself with my girls, and just seeing Charlotte and her effort levels she puts in, and just seeing her videos on a daily basis, and everything I've asked her to do, she's gone above and beyond. And I just feel privileged to be involved in a small percent of helping her to hopefully achieve that dream in the next couple of years. And yeah, it's going to be super exciting. So before I let you go, guys, because I know it's Saturday night and you're probably going to be heading out, can I get a prediction from you for the Real Madrid versus Borussia Dortmund game? So Nikki, can I get a score prediction?
You're asking me.
Yes.
I'll go
So Real Madrid.
Real Madrid.
What score do you think it's going to be?
Again, who? Who's the
Borussia Dortmund.
2-1. Real Madrid.
2-1 to Real Madrid. Ben, you'll give me your analytical conscious view. What's the score?
It's going to be 3-1 to Real Madrid. And I think Bellingham will score the first goal.
Bellingham first goal, Real Madrid 3, Borussia Dortmund 1. I think one of you are going to be right. That's my prediction, 2-1 or 3-1. So look, guys, obviously I know I'll see lots of you because we get back to the UK 3 or 4 times a year. We're closely going to follow Charlotte because she's still on the pro player pathway until she's at least 16. She's on a scholarship with us. We hope to keep her on longer than that, but hopefully she doesn't need us past that. But look, a big thank you. It's been amazing having you guys on from a mum and dad's perspective, not only to the benefits of the pro player pathway, but some of the things that you have gone through over the past couple of years. And a big thank you from me and everyone at Euro Football Star for being part of this programme as well.
Oh, thanks, Ray. And as always, we appreciate your support of Charlotte and development too. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. That's me over and out from the Raymond's World podcast. A big thank you for joining us on this mini episode, and a big thank you to Nikki and Ben. And we'll be in touch on our next episode in the next couple of weeks. Hi everyone, it's Raymond Wood from the Raymond's Wood podcast. I am super excited to bring one of our players all the way beaming back live from Brisbane in Australia. I'm currently in London, in Wembley, ready for the Champions League final Saturday the 1st of June. And I believe we've got Maya Allsop on the line. Hey Maya, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now for our listeners who are watching on in, can you just tell everyone your age, where you are from, and the position that you play?
Hi, I'm Maya Allsop. I'm currently 14 years old. Will be turning 15 in July. And I'm living in Logan currently, and I play 6th position.
Very good. Now, you've been involved in football since what age? What age did you start playing, Maya?
I started playing at 9.5. With my dad as my coach, so don't really know if that counts, but
that's good. And you were from Yeppoon, which is up in central Queensland by Rockhampton originally, and you played community-based football. Now, just to explain the reason why we've got you on our podcast and why we're doing this mini episode is just to show with a little bit of hard work and consistency on how anyone can make it as a football player if they follow our pathway. Now, we obviously met your mum through Gary Skinner, who was one of your coaches. And I'll just get it on record. Unfortunately, Gary Skinner is a Chelsea fan. So he's not a Liverpool fan like me and Maya. So he's unfortunately not as blessed as us as Liverpool fans, because we are at the Champions League final and Liverpool have won it 6 times. I believe Chelsea have only won it twice. That's correct, isn't it, Maya? Just to remind Gary Skinner of that one. Now, you obviously, I worked with Gary Skinner up in central Queensland many years ago, and I was introduced to your mum and to yourself through Gary, and he said he was a player up in central Queensland that had a little bit of potential but needed some help with a football. Now, we actually got you onto our professional player pathway just under 12 months ago. So for everyone who's listening in, can you just tell us a little bit about how you found the programme and what's been some of the best parts so far?
So I was training with Gary and he told me about you, and I was so excited and I was so thankful that I was part of the program. It's just so amazing. It's helped me immensely. Like, my training's gone from only 2 training sessions a week to up to 14, 15 hours, which is amazing. And then I've gotten this opportunity to move to Brisbane from Yeppoon and play at such a high level. And it's just helped me improve so much. The portal, it's so great. It shows me what objectives I need to work on before my games and stuff like that. It's just amazing overall.
So from your opinion, May, this is a program that you believe anyone can work from anywhere on the planet. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, for our listeners and people watching this podcast and tuning in, we've got a remotely based program called the Professional Player Pathway. And on the Professional Player Pathway, players from the ages of about 8 and 9 all the way through to 23 years of age can join us. We've got 7 pillars to the program. The reason why the program was created and designed was by me. I've worked in the game of football for over 25 years. I've worked for some of the biggest teams like Liverpool, Leicester City, Paris Saint-Germain. I used to work for some of the biggest coaches in the game. I used to work for Carlo Ancelotti, who's now the Real Madrid coach, when I was in France. Also, we've been heavily involved in the world game and developing players all around the planet. Now, one of the big things that we wanted to make sure people were aware of as well is that this program can be done from anywhere in the world. Everything is done remotely based. And just to prove the proof's in the pudding, so we discovered you, Maya, in sunny central Queensland where it's very hot and sticky. You were playing community-based football and you've since gone down to Brisbane. You are now pretty much playing at the highest level that you can play in Brisbane. That's correct, isn't it? And you're currently playing with Logan?
Yes, and amazing.
In the NPL. And then one of the things that we do and offer as one of the pillars on the program is once you've hit a certain benchmark of objectives and you have been completing your objectives to make it and show to us that you're at a standard good enough to go for a trial to the UK and Europe, have you, can you explain a little bit about what's happening with you next year and where you're going?
So next year I'm going to be going over and I'm going to be trialing or just visiting, seeing everything in the UK. It's going to be amazing and got to put in the training and the effort.
Amazing. So just for, again, those listeners and people watching this, Maya is going to be going on some trials in January to the UK, but also she's going to be going on trials in June, July as well to France and Spain. Maya is one of our more successful players who's really getting through the program and getting through the objectives. And once you get to a certain benchmark, we then open up opportunities for players. One of the big things that we don't do is just open up opportunities for players just because players tell us they're good enough or because their mum and dad tell us they're good enough. It gives us an indication of where they're at and how good they are. We can actually ascertain the level that players are at. And then once we see certain benchmarks are met on the 7 pillars of the program, we can then open up the trials. So I want to ask you, Maya, the UK in January, where it's like middle of summer and it's freezing cold here at the moment, or going to Spain and France in June, July, is there a particular country you're really looking forward to go on trial?
I can't take it. Oh, that's hard. Well, I've always wanted to go to the UK and stuff like that. Liverpool is a dream of mine, and although PSG was my favorite team, I think Liverpool's overcome that, and it's definitely going to be the UK trip.
That's amazing. So hopefully, once you get across on the trials next year, we can open up 1 or 2 opportunities for you. And then by the time you're 16 years of age, the plan is to be playing professional football in Europe. Is that the dream?
Definitely, yeah.
And I'm sure Mum's going to want to go with you and live overseas in Europe as well, isn't she?
Yeah, I think so.
Now, before we let you go and we finish off, May, we've got a couple of minutes to go. But just for our listeners listening in, and especially for any young girls watching, do you recommend this program to players who are watching this?
Yeah, of course. It's just amazing help. without it, I definitely wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to go overseas and do like complete my dreams and do stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely a good thing to get on.
That's amazing. And are you going to be okay with your mum following you all around Europe, following your career?
Yeah, I couldn't have done it without her either. So.
Oh, that's amazing. So a big thank you, mate, for joining us for this mini podcast. We wish you well. Obviously, we're going to be monitoring your journey. And for those guys who are watching and listening in as well, once a player makes it and they get an opportunity into the UK and Europe and they're with a pro club or on a scholarship opportunity, the journey's not over on the pro player pathway. You're on the programme for a minimum of 4 years. We do have bumps sometimes in the road. We have obstacles we have to get over. We have had players who are on the programme have been released from clubs, and part of this pro player pathway is to open up more opportunities. So if things don't always go to plan, we can assist and help. So we wish you well, Maya. We're super excited. We're so happy to have you on the programme, and we look forward to watching your football career develop over the next couple of years.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Maya, before you go, I'm going to ask you one more question. Big game tonight. Real Madrid versus Borussia Dortmund. Can you give me a score prediction? And also, can you even tell me who you think the first goal scorer might be?
So, I'm a big Real Madrid fan, so I'm going to say a 2-1 win for us. And I think Jude Bellingham's going to score the first goal.
Okay, so you heard it here first, guys. Jude Bellingham, first goal. Real Madrid 2, Borussia Dortmund 1. And I think that's going to make a lot of Real Madrid fans happy if that's the case.
Definitely.
So a big thank you, Maya. Stay safe, keep well, say hello to Mum and Dad, and we'll be in touch over the coming weeks.
Will do. Thank you for having me.
Today, we're going to talk about vision, and also, is it a myth or a lie that only 1% of players make it as a professional football player? Let's first talk about vision in today's YouTube episode. Now, a lot of people and parents follow people who are lost. What do I mean by people who are lost? Well, in a nutshell, people who really don't know what they're talking about. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. And you've got to make sure you take this on board and listen to my advice. Firstly, if I have a problem with my teeth, I will go to the dentist, get it assessed, and the dentist will do my teeth for me. At no point will I try and correct or stop the dentist and advise that he's doing it the wrong way. And unfortunately, we're in a system in football where we have a lot of people who go against what actually really works and what doesn't work. So when we're listening to people and we're getting advice for our sons or daughters, make sure we're listening to professionals. Make sure you're listening to people who've been involved in the game at the top level. And make sure you're listening to people who've actually been there, done it, got the t-shirt, and with all due respect, has put the hard yards in and worked in professional football for at least 10 or 15 years or longer, or in my case, coming up to 25 years. I'll just tell you a little bit of a story. So we've worked with many players all around the world, and we've worked with a particular player who's come from a regional part of Australia. Now, this particular player got offered a scholarship to join us on the professional player pathway. And we gave this particular player one of the highest scholarships we've ever given. Now, a particular person who was coaching this player in this regional area is actually not a full-time coach, is not a qualified coach, but is just a dad who tries to help out in the regional area. He actually has a full-time job which is non-related to football, but he told this particular player and mum and dad that the opportunity that we presented for their daughter was not a good opportunity, and under no circumstance should they take it up. Now, fortunately for us, the mum and dad
of the player involved, after many, many weeks of debating, because of this regional area, this person they trusted in, they decided to go against his wishes, and they've now agreed that it was the best decision he made, was by not listening to someone locally. So the big point that I'm trying to get to is don't listen to anyone with no background or history in football at the top level. If you or your son or your daughter is aspiring to be a professional football player, please, please, please do not listen to people who are volunteers with no runs on the board, and with all due respect, are probably amazing people for volunteering the time at clubs around Australia and around other parts of the world, but only listen to people who are giving you advice based on their previous experience, their qualifications, and their backgrounds in the game. Again, you wouldn't sit in the dentist chair and tell the dentist, oh, wait there, stop. You're actually doing the filling wrong. We need to do it a different way, because Tony, who's a volunteer at our football club, said you're actually doing the filling the wrong way. You shouldn't be doing it that way. And that's how silly it sounds. And really, really what upsets me is that the amount of players who are missing out on opportunities because they're listening to people in their local areas, and because these people are involved with the football clubs in the local areas, people think that's the gospel. So the best way to look at this, write down these 3 points, and I'm going to put them on this whiteboard for you, just to have a little look, and it will give you an idea of the ways that you can actually attack this. So the first question you should be asking is, what is the highest qualification they hold in football? And most countries around the world, you're looking for an A license or a pro license. If they have that, that's a tick. The next thing I'd be looking for is, how many years have they coached and worked in professional football? So if that's in Australia, have they worked in the A-League? If it's in England, have they worked in the Premier League, the Championship, League One, League Two? If not, that doesn't count as professional. So, how many years have they worked? And we're looking for 10 plus years working in the pro game. Now, if you've got that, that's another tick. The final piece that we should be asking ourselves is, how many players have they developed who now currently play professional football? And we're not talking about one particular player who might have played at their local club and then went on and made it. Actually directly responsible for developing 2, 3, 4 or more professional players who now play professional football, again, whether it be in the A-League, the MLS in the USA, or further afield. So we're looking for 3+ pro players in the game. Now, my advice to you guys would be, if you get those 3 ticks, I would take advice from these people. Whether they are male or female, if they've got those 3 ticks, it doesn't matter. I would be taking advice from these people in the world game. If you've got a son and you're speaking to a female coach who's got them, I would be listening. If you've got a daughter and you're speaking to a male coach who works in the male game, I would still be listening to them if they tick these boxes, because it doesn't matter whether they're in the men's or the women's game. If they tick these boxes, I would 100% say, listen to that person. Now, you might say, well, our coach at our club, he's produced 1 pro player and he's worked at our club for 11 years and he's got his B license. No, if they don't get all 3, don't listen to them. Go and seek advice from people who tick these boxes. And I'll tell you now, in Australia, as an example, there's not many. I'm one of them who ticks all of them boxes. There's probably, if we're lucky, maybe another 10 to 15 people. So again, be very careful on who you listen to when it comes to opportunities for your son or daughter. So one of the big things that the takeaways from that is, you can make a note of this, write it down. If you need a hand the best thing you can do, guys, if you comment or like on this actual YouTube video, drop us a comment in the comments box saying you need help. Drop us your email address and we'll be more than happy to give you a helping hand. And it won't necessarily even come from us. We could refer you to someone else who also has got these qualifications. We're just trying to encourage players and families to make sure that they're actually getting the advice from the right person. So the dentist who's qualified to do a filling or remove a tooth, it's exactly the same in football. One of the big problems that we've got, and again, we've just got to make sure we're listening to the professional people, the people who've got the runs on the board, then you can take their advice. So remember, guys, drop a comment in the comments box. If you are under the age of 18, you need to get mum or dad's permission to drop your details in the comments box. So make sure if you're under 18, you need to drop mum or dad's email address, or get mum or dad's approval and they need to drop the email address in, giving us approval to speak to you guys. But we would love to help you. So again, drop a little message in that comments box for us. Now, people say, why do we have this problem in places like Australia, the USA, and the Middle East? The big problem is we are countries based on volunteers, and volunteers are good in many, many aspects of the country. But when it comes to sporting volunteers, it becomes a problem when they are making footballing decisions, especially if they don't have this knowledge, because it's a recipe for disaster. So again, if a volunteer has got all of these, listen to them. If they don't, with all due respect, just remind them that they don't hold those 3 points, and you're looking for someone who's a professional who can help you make that decision on whether you sign up on a professional player pathway program with us at Euro Football Star, or you join one of the other private football or soccer academies around the USA or Australia or wherever you are in the world. So one of the big things that we've got to say about vision as well is now we've ascertained who you should be listening to. Also, one of the real important points I wanted to get across tonight is, as with parents, we tend to listen to the wrong people, and we've just spoke about who the wrong people are. And the big problem with that is, because you listen to this person and because you know this person's worked at this local club for 15 or 20 years, you just assume that, yeah, they know everything about football and the professional player pathway. Well, you're wrong. You are putting roadblocks in the way for success for your son or daughter, because you are basically saying it's impossible. We get it all the time on our Facebook adverts, on our social media posts, and we get comments like, oh, it's impossible. You'll never do it if you don't hold a British passport. You can't go to Europe and play professional football. And all these people are sowing really negative seeds for everyone else who's reading the comments. So again, if you're one of these people who goes online on social media, please, 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 if anyone says a comment about that it's not possible, again, if you're really interested in their comment, drop them a message back, reply to their comment, and ask them to prove to you that they've got all of those 3 boxes. And if they can't prove that to you, then don't listen to that comment. Listen to the people who've been involved in the professional game for 10, 15, 20 years. There is quite a few people around the place who can help around with that, and just make sure, again, we are listening to the professionals. So one of the other big things that we spoke about is the whole passport myth, and you need a British passport to go and play in Europe and the UK. Guys, again, it's not true. If you're interested to find out how you can go on and make it as a professional football player, if you want to come on our professional player pathway program, again, with mum or dad's permission, drop your email address into the comments box. We'll send mum or dad an email. If you're 18 years of age or older, again, drop in your email address, and we'll be more than happy to actually set up a meeting with you and explain how we can help you, and to prove that you do not need a British passport to go in and play football in the UK or into Europe. There's many ways we can assist with getting players overseas. Now, couple of things to speak about we also get told this common one that if you're Australian, you're not going to make it. And we just spoke about the whole passport thing. Let's think of it this way. Let's look at some players who've gone across without British passports, without European passports, and have actually gone on and played at the top flight of football in the game in the UK. So some of the players, Sam Kerr, Caitlin Ford, Hayley Raso, Alana Kennedy, Lydia Williams, Steph Catley, Mackenzie Arnold. Then we can go into the men's game. You've got examples like Craig Johnston back in the 80s with Liverpool. You've got Harry Kewell, who also played for Leeds United and Liverpool. We've also got Matty Ryan, who's played for Arsenal and Brighton. We've got Brad Smith, who again played for Liverpool and Bournemouth. We've also got Adam Moy. We've got Adam Federici, Mark Schwarzer. We could go on and on and on with examples of players who didn't have British passports, who didn't have access to visas. So again, guys, if you're going to listen to people who write comments on social media posts, then you're never going to do anything in this life or in this world, because there's a lot of naysayers in the world who've got no background, no history, and no qualifications, and they're not qualified to comment on this sort of stuff. So again, it's really, really important, if you're setting a vision out for yourself or for your daughter or for your son, don't listen to naysayers and don't listen to people who are not qualified to comment on it. Always think of the dentist analogy. They've got to be qualified to be treating you, to be giving you injections, to removing teeth, to giving you fillings. It's exactly the same in the football world. It took me over 11 years to earn 26 different football qualifications. Some of the prestigious qualifications I've earned were with UEFA, some of the English Football Association, some of the Irish Football Association, some here in Australia, and also some in the USA. So just make sure we are listening. Now, part of that vision, once you've cleared all the clutter and all the negative talk from the people who are not qualified to talk on it, you need a plan. And the first thing that we need is that vision. Now, don't be scared to make a vision really, really big, okay? So your vision might be, and you can ask your son or daughter, and I find asking your son or daughter is the best way to go, because fortunately with children, especially younger children, they're not used to reading comments on social media about negativity and about naysayers at local clubs and volunteers who are not qualified to talk. So they've got a very creative and a very open mind. So if you were to ask your son or daughter, okay, would you like to play professional football when you're older? Yes, Dad, I would love to. Okay, what club would you like to play for? Oh, Real Madrid, Manchester City, Liverpool, Barcelona. Write that down as the end goal. Because, yeah, they mightn't get to that goal. And again, a lot of naysayers say, oh, it's not possible to get to Manchester City. Well, I disagree. As an example, players who've recently been on our programme for just over 2 years, we've recently had one player who signed for Liverpool Football Club, and we've also had another player who's also just signed for Bolton Wanderers Football Club. So to say that it's not possible is completely wrong. So when people are saying something's impossible, just look at it this way. Split the word impossible into 2 words. Am possible, okay? Your son or daughter is possible, okay? Trust me, I've been there, I've done it, and I've seen kids at the ages of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, as late as 12 and 13, once they've got a plan and a vision in place and they've followed it, they've turned into professional football players. So, map out on your vision. The first thing you need to map out is exactly what we've just said there, is actually map out something ridiculously high. Set the highest target you can. Get them to write it down in a diary, and this is what you're going to put. So, it might be for your vision, they want to play for Barcelona FC. Now, like with anything, we can now work backwards. And once we start working backwards, we can then map out a plan on how we can get to Barcelona Football Club by the time they are 16, 17, 18, 20, 22 years of age. Now, one of the big things that we've spoke about in the past, and we're going to touch on it a little bit while we're talking about the vision. There's a myth and a lie, and this myth and lie talks about only 1% of players make it as a professional football player. It's not true, and I'll explain why it's not true. On the planet today, there is currently 132,000 male professional football players. In the female game, there is 45,500. So instead of coming out with a fact that's not actually factual and it's not true, if you start to look at objectively, when you're trying to get your son or daughter to Barcelona, let's think of it this way. If you've got a son, you just need to get him to be 131,999th, and that means they've turned into a pro football player. So when you look at it that way, they've just got to get inside the top 132,000. Actually, it sounds a lot better than the 1%. And also, it's actually objectively correct. We're saying only 1% make it is actually not true. If anyone can tell me any different, please again, put it in the comments below and show me objectively where there's a stat that's being objectively driven from the game of football around the planet that states only 1% of players make it. I'd be really interested to see that. So please leave us a comment on this particular episode. Make it inside the top 45,000